Hey, what's up, everybody?
Welcome back to Mile Higher Podcast, episode 198. Today, we have another guest joining us on the show, and this is going to be a very emotional episode. We have David Robinson, who is Daniel Robinson's father, joining us for the episode today. And Daniel went missing less than a year ago.
Yes.
So this is very fresh, and like I said, it's very sensitive and emotional having David here today. He will be joining us here in a bit. And I just wanted to say before we start that we know you guys are going to do an incredible job, as always, of making him feel welcome on our show, making him feel supported. And we will have a call to action that we will go through several times throughout the episode, but also in the description box below of how you can help with his search for Daniel.
Yes, so Daniel Robinson was last seen the morning of June 23rd, 2021, leaving his work site in Buckeye, Arizona. He worked as a hydrogeologist, so he went to a lot of remote locations out in the Arizona desert. He was last seen driving his 2017 blue-gray Jeep Renegade and is believed to have headed west deeper into desert terrain. And there's obviously more to this, but I just wanted to sort of give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about. David is still searching for his son today. He's leading search groups out into the desert to continue searching the area where his vehicle ultimately was found. So that we're going to go over all of that with him, and we'll be back with him here shortly.
David, it is so great to have you in person here on the show. I've been following everything you've been doing online, and it's awesome to meet you in person. Sorry for the circumstances, but it is really an honor to meet you.
Thank you so much for being having me on. I really appreciate
we appreciate you coming out here, and with how busy you are, and taking the time to help us tell your son's story. And hopefully, as a result of this episode, we can hopefully drum up some more resources for you, whether it's volunteers or through the GoFundMe, which we'll go over all of that here in a little bit. But let's just start off and just allow, our audience to get to know you a little bit, get to know your family. If you want to just introduce yourself.
Okay. Yes. Of course, David Robinson. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. Been born and raised there. My children, of course, born and raised there. I'm just a man with a small family, but we're a very tight-knit family down in South Carolina. I'm the oldest of my sister. I have a younger sister and a younger brother. My mom decided to have my brother after my sister and I are pretty much about to graduate from school. So, so I didn't get to grow up with them. So sometimes I think, wait a minute, I do have a little brother too, but but yes, I have a younger brother, but definitely I'm the oldest out of the two the siblings I have. And like I said, I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. In my career, I was going to school to be a computer engineer. In turn, I ended up having children.
That kind of puts a roadblock a little bit.
That kind of put a stop to some things. But I'm honored to have my children. And I did still try to go back to finish my career and end up joining the military.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
I really appreciate that.
I have a lot of respect for people that serve. So
yes, thank you. Yes, did 2 tours in Afghanistan with the military. Of course, I ended up getting medically discharged. Had a brain injury.
Oh, wow.
From being there in deployment. So, got out, medically retired here, and here I am in Arizona. From my retirement, my goal was to, like I say, go back to finish what I practiced with my children. My children know that, hey, look, finish what you start.
Right.
And I was doing that.
Yeah.
But also wanted to try to start my own business and things like that. So as soon as I was doing that here, COVID.
Right.
Of course.
I think all of us kind of suffered from that. But also I'm here in Arizona to find my son. So that's pretty much balled in it from about me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good summarization. You and I were talking in the car on the way over here a little bit more about your military experience and stuff, and just for all the things you've been through with that, and now the search for your son. I just want to say you're a truly impressive man and individual, and we both have a lot of respect for you and what you're doing. I mean, you're a man on a mission. That's your mission every day, is to find your son, and we really respect you for that.
Yes,
and
I appreciate that.
And you've been in Arizona now, how many months?
Since June the 26th, it's been going on 9 months now. Been here in search of my son. So
It's amazing.
So before we jump into, what happened to Daniel, let's kind of go back and just let you sort of tell everybody what Daniel's like. How was his childhood? He's got siblings. Yeah, tell us a little bit about family life, growing up.
Yeah, well, Daniel, he's the youngest of his group.
Okay.
His group.
Yeah, so I'll say you have an older brother and twin sisters.
Oh.
In growing up with them, and he's the youngest out of that group. When I say that group, I ended up getting married again, and I have a younger daughter. She's 14 now.
Okay.
Well, no, take it back. Yesterday she turned 15, so she would get mad at me.
Yeah, better get it right.
But yes, he's the youngest of that group, and Daniel, of course, he was born with one hand.
Right.
From birth. So when he was born, of course, all families we always going to feel a certain way when we see certain things. So
Yeah.
But he was special.
Yeah.
So I knew that off the beginning. He's really loud. When he was coming out, he was really loud and crying really hard. And I said, man, he have a strong voice. But just from that, knowing that Daniel was going to be a strong child. As he got older, of course, I think one of the biggest moments is when he spoke to his mom about his hand. And that's when he noticed, I guess, I think he was probably going on 5 years old, if that, and he noticed he just had one hand and his siblings had two. He said, Mom, where's my other hand, for instance? And I believe his mother told him, hey, look, God has it, and he's going to return it to you one day. He never asked about that ever again.
Wow.
Of course, we wanted to give him prosthetics to try to help him out as parents, try to make sure that he's doing well in school and things like that.
Right.
But we learned really quickly he didn't like it. He would fight about that prosthetics. He didn't want it.
Yeah.
Daniel, like I said, he's a person that challenges himself. He always challenges his siblings, whether it's video games to school. So he had his older brother. All of them was doing very well in school. And so he look at the rest of them like, oh, I can do better than them. So
Yeah.
if you look at Daniel,
He's got a lot to prove being the youngest.
Man, yeah, he's
the
youngest, and that's what they talk about. All three of them, well, all four of them, they would sit there together and discuss about who's the smartest, I guess. That type deal. And so yeah, he had to really prove it, and he's really been doing that. From teaching himself how to play the French horn. That was his first instrument.
Oh, wow. That's
yeah.
impressive.
French
Wow.
horn.
Yes,
Wow.
trumpet. He did that. A little bit of trombone. So that day, he just challenged everything, and when he wanted to do it, he just actually do it.
That's amazing. I mean, that's also a testament to you as a parent and instilling that in your kids.
One thing we want to make sure that Daniel, he never got treated as we don't see it as a handicap. He was born that way. He used to
Special,
it.
yeah.
And he definitely proved that point to us. Hey, look, this is what I am. I'd rather go without prosthetics because this is who I am. I'm I love who I am as a person.
Embrace it
Right.
rather than
That's right.
make it,
Yes.
something.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So he played sports too?
He tried a little bit of football. He didn't last long in it, but he tried a little bit of that.
Yeah.
He did sports as in lifting weights. He did a little bit of weightlifting in high school, but that's pretty much it when it comes to sports.
So really like academics was first priority.
That's right.
Was he like, is he doing AP classes and that kind of stuff too?
That's right. Yeah, he's always been in some type of honor class and things like that. He was, I think the thing was called, I can't think of the name of it right now offhand, but he's always had some kind of awards growing up in high school, junior high school, and then high school, all the way up coming to.
What is it called? It's like
Honors?
scholars, honors,
All-star,
Yeah.
All-star something.
Gifted
I
and
forgot what it was.
talented?
Right, something
Yeah.
similar. But he's always having some type of awards because, like I said, he tried to challenge his siblings. So of course,
Yeah.
yes,
Because what you were telling me is all four siblings are in the science,
they are. They are.
STEM world, and
Wow.
which is really cool.
That's right. Yes.
Runs in the family.
Scientists, some type of scientist.
Yeah, and it's funny because we have our conversations even to this. Well, before Daniel went missing, we have conversations and people look at us like, "What are they talking about?" Because we'll just break things down. So no matter what it is,
Yeah.
that your dog
Yeah.
would have came around, for instance, a certain way. Oh, they do that. They roll on their back because they mean this, that, blah,
Yeah.
blah on the science level. That
Yeah.
type deal. Right? We
That's
break
awesome.
everything down.
And you guys are analyzers, and
That's right. That's right.
Sort of have that scientific
Right.
method running through
Right,
the
all
blood.
the time.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And we may have debates like that. So
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, education's so important, and obviously that was what really drove him, through his childhood and
Right.
through high school, and then where do you go to college?
Well, he went to college, the College of Charleston. His siblings, two of his siblings, twins, they went to the College of Charleston also.
Okay.
So they graduated before he did. But he went there in his freshman year. That's when he fell in love with geology.
Interesting. So he took like an intro to geology, and
that's
just was
what
like,
it was.
this
Right.
is really interesting.
Yes,
Wow.
he fell in love with it. Because he was just like most college students, undecided when he first got there.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
you need kind of those basic courses to sort of figure out what
Right.
you want to dive deep into.
That's right.
And geology was it for him.
That was it. And he
What was it about geology that he really liked? Like,
I really don't know. I never did ask him that.
that's kind of a weird question.
I was thinking when he was going through college, I was had the impression. I learned that quick from his sisters. That you think it's gonna be cheaper. And I said, "Oh man, they're going to college now. I can save some of my money." No, it became more expensive.
Yeah.
But I was more concerned about the academics, make sure that he's making it through. He's a boy, and he was living the college experience.
There's a lot of distractions once you get to college. Yeah.
He was living the college experience. His sister would say, "Dad, I don't know. Daniel's always at some party. He's always doing this, and with his little buddies in the dorms or whatever.
Yeah.
That type deal." So
he had like a social life going in
very,
college.
very, very big one.
Yeah. So it wasn't all just books and studying.
No,
he was
no.
having a good time
Yes,
too.
and he graduated with honors. So that's the thing, right?
In 2019, right?
Right.
Yeah. So he fell in love with geology, and so geology is kind of one of those fields too where being in South Carolina, I don't know if there's a big, sort of career field in South Carolina for geologists. But how did he sort of what did he do after he graduated to sort of figure out what his next step was?
Well, one thing I was teaching my children is to expand their horizons. And Daniel, all three of them decided to do that. They listened to what I was teaching them as they was growing up. The world is bigger than South Carolina. Their mother was more of, she's a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Stay close to home. I want to
Sure.
make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, go abroad, go away, get away from here. So they was able to do that. And Daniel did the same thing. Once he graduated, like you say, not much you can do in geology in South Carolina.
Yeah.
So Phoenix, Arizona was the place to go for him.
So he found Matrix New World Engineering in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes.
So he got a job right out of school then.
Right out of school.
That's impressive. I mean, that's...
Well, I can give some credit to his best friend in college because his best friend's parents own that company.
Oh,
So, yes.
Okay.
So he had it in. He had
So he had it in there because both of them are geologists. So he met them in college. They, right. So
So the social life paid off.
there you go.
yeah,
It paid
sometimes
off.
those
Yes,
social connections
exactly.
help you out later. So had he ever been to Arizona before?
No, he have not.
So he had no idea what he was sort of...
His mother was nervous, but I was happy. So he went out there to, after he graduated, of course, he had to do, I didn't really understand that, but he had to do one last final class out there, and it was in Flagstaff.
Okay.
And
Okay.
once he left Flagstaff, he just went straight to Phoenix, and he's on his job.
What
So-
did he think of it when he first got down there? Did he like
Oh
Arizona?
my gosh, he's in our conversation, Daniel, if he was around today, he still was trying to convince me to move to Arizona.
Oh, really?
He was all about
He
it.
loved
huh?
Arizona, yeah.
Oh.
The rocks and the hiking and
It's beautiful. I mean, he's a big
especially
nature
Sedona.
lover.
He's really in
yeah.
love with that and that
Interesting.
type of stuff, right?
Yeah,
Sedona.
he was really looking forward to you coming out there and hiking
And
with
he
him,
was,
right?
he
Yeah.
was, yes, very much so.
So he's always been kind of a nature lover and just loves being outside. And
And I think I can say I didn't really was aware of his really love for outdoor type things until he started getting into college because he always wanted to go on trips with his friends. And because when he was growing up, I can say his mother and I, when we were married, we kind of sheltered them a lot.
Okay.
And when I say shelter, we try to keep them from going through some of the same things we had to go through when we was growing up, and we put them in certain places. And so they didn't get to venture out and do all the things. I'm telling them about those things. So I think once he got out, he said, "Hey, I'm free. Let me go."
Yeah,
type
yeah.
deal. So yes,
okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to approach it too. I think it's good to give them the foundation
right.
and give them those life experiences that you share and lessons, and then but also when it's time for them to go out into the world to support that as well. And I think that's great that you supported him going out into the world and moving far to the other side of the country, totally different landscape, totally different, people and environment. So he moves to Arizona, and he doesn't necessarily have a place to live right away, right?
Right. And the thing is, because now that's the only time I told him to come back home first.
Yeah.
It's because he was leaving that class in Flagstaff to go to Phoenix. I'm like, where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then he said he had a friend. I don't know who his friend was. I know who it is now. But who was going to let him in stay for a few weeks or whatever until you get his place. So
is that Roger?
Roger, that's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And he was a coworker.
Ended up being a coworker, right? One of the coworkers there.
Okay.
Is he older than Daniel?
He could be. I think Roger could be at least about 5.
Close though. Yeah,
it's close, but not super older.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So he moved in with him temporarily, and that was just supposed to be until he found another place.
That's right.
Okay. So he lived with him about a month initially?
It's about a month. Once he got started on his job and got his paycheck, I guess, and then he decided to get his apartment.
And they became pretty good friends living together and would carpool together to work?
That's right. Okay. Daniel ended up getting his first vehicle. What I'm thinking is, Daniel, I was really proud because when I started seeing him practice some of the things I was teaching him as a young boy, is like fixing cars, to put him and his brother up on his sister's too, but under the vehicle to teach him how to fix a car and things like that, or how to change your oil or whatever the case may be. And he ended up getting a cheap little car. Dad, I got this car, and I was like, okay, it was raggedy.
But be working on that a lot.
Yeah, it seemed like it would break down every day, but he kept it together. He's used all those tools and those skills.
That's great.
Kept that thing running.
Kind of a challenge.
And get to work on time. So that's the first move he made. I was really proud of that. He's starting to show his manhood, taking care of himself, and he went there from there and ended up getting the vehicle they have now.
The Jeep Renegade, 2017.
So Roger worked in the office, and then Daniel worked out in the field. So he was outside most of the time, right? And he probably really enjoyed that. And
that's what it is. Daniel, he's like I said, I learned that as he was coming out of college. While he was in college, and also when he was coming out of college, that he really, and I could see my spirit coming out of it, because that's how I am. I'm a person that want to be out somewhere doing something. But he's a little more intense with the nature part. I won't go just say, hey, I'm choosing to go hiking one day. But that's Daniel. So he's definitely, I've seen some of that come out.
Okay. And eventually he did find his own place, and he moved out of Roger's place. Did you get to see that apartment, or had you seen pictures of it or anything?
I haven't seen anything. Just just from word of mouth, what he was telling me.
Okay. But he and Roger still remained friends. They would get together.
They have for a long time.
Okay.
I think until Daniel went missing, Roger has been considered a friend.
Right. And he got a new apartment in Tempe, right? Is it Tempe?
Well, he started off in Phoenix. He started off in Phoenix.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Right. When he first got his first apartment, he did end up getting a roommate a little while after that. And,
did he? Okay.
Because I think he moved in. His sister was complaining, Dan, you sure you can afford it? Because, he couldn't afford it. But, Daniel wasn't thinking like, hey, look, that bill, what you're paying for this rent is going to cut you on some of your, fund, the money you want to put aside or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And so he learned that quickly, and he got a roommate. Yes.
So you were planning to eventually go out and visit Daniel?
I have, yes.
Okay. Yes. Did you have that already scheduled?
And we did. I was supposed to be in there. His sister in California, she was coming down. He do have a sister in Phoenix. We always going to meet out of his place or the sister in Phoenix, her place, July. Okay. July last year.
Wow.
It's right in July. We already had it scheduled, especially with the whole COVID thing going on. We still was going to try to make a way to get there, and we were supposed to spend time, and that's when he wanted to show me the vehicle for the first time. So
he was really proud of that car.
He just built the computer. He just got his there's a couple of things he was really wanting to show me. He's me being a computer engineer major, he was building that computer and was going back and forth, and the RAM he was putting in and that. And he wanted to show me that personally, and also he wanted to show me that vehicle. So July was the date that we thought, the month that we decided that I was going to be here.
Okay.
In Arizona.
Yeah, Josh was into building computers too.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah,
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah,
It does,
yeah,
but it's fun.
It is fun. It is fun. I've built 4 or 5. I built one for her dad,
Right.
my brother, a few other people. Yeah, it's fun to learn about the individual components of it, and
Right,
you know,
right.
when you go and shop each
That's right, yeah.
component, and then when you get them all, and then you take a picture of all the boxes.
That's
and
right.
Then you
That's
got
right.
the case, you start building it.
Yes.
That's really cool. I know. The more I learn about Daniel, I'm like, he's my type of guy. Let's go to
Right.
Sedona and then go home and do
Totally.
some gaming on the computer. So
Yeah, especially gaming. He was a big gamer also. Yeah,
Really?
pretty
I
much.
didn't realize that until I had to go clean his apartment.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, he had
Yeah.
2 screens on his computer. Just the one side for
Oh.
gaming and the other side for whatever you had to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll do homework over here and
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll keep my game up
Inevitable.
over here. That was me through college too. So sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Davisha moved out there in March of 2021, right?
Yeah, it was a year after Daniel, because he went out right out college, and then she came out a year after that.
Okay, and
She
he must
stayed
have
with
been.
him for a while. Matter of fact,
Oh,
for at
really?
least about a month before she got her apartment. So
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And they're pretty close.
very close.
Very close. That's awesome. He must have been really excited to have her there then.
And that's what they do. Every weekend, pretty much, they go hiking and things like that.
Oh,
So,
that's
right.
fantastic.
That's
So glad
awesome.
they had that time.
So he's working at Matrix, which being a field geologist, I mean, easily putting in tons of hours, working hard. So then he decides to drive for Instacart. Why did he do that?
You know, I learned that, and I was wondering why, because I didn't actually. The crazy part, we talk about everything. Dan and I. The first time I even heard about Instacart was the 2 days before he went missing. When I had that last conversation with him, I didn't realize he was doing Instacart. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons I found out later with his sister is because the job, Matrix. What they would do is they didn't pay for some of the things that he had to carry, like the equipment to
Oh,
the gas to whatever, to make it to these well sites. What they do is a expense report, and he had to do after he finished putting everything up front, supply, whatever the case may be. He had to put in an expense report, and then they take their time to pay
Reimburse
him
him? Yeah.
So he needed to pay his bills, and that's the reason why he did that.
Okay, that makes sense.
He didn't want to
That's
have to
curious.
like have his
Wait on that.
normal
Right.
budget be hit by his work
Right.
expenses. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of weird for a company to make you
Right.
front that up
And
front.
he did express how stressful that was for him. You know, he's
Yeah.
almost about to get behind on bills, and he didn't
Yeah.
like that. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I
It's-
mean, to be resourceful enough to
Right.
then figure out how am I going to be able
Instacart
to.
was the way to do it. Right.
Yeah.
So,
You
yeah.
can
Very
make your own
flexible.
schedule. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So it seemed like in kind of the first half of 2021, things were going pretty well for Daniel overall. And you guys were happy about his situation, felt
Yeah.
comfortable. But then things started to become a little concerning for you at some point, kind of noticed that he wasn't his usual self.
Well, that's the thing, and I think a lot of that being misquoted, especially on my part.
Okay.
So we did have some things with I guess a lot of that what you were talking about probably came from the police report.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things is that gets me with that is,
Okay.
and I know I'll get really touchy about it because
Yeah.
it makes me angry.
Yeah.
I understand that.
You know, my daughter and I, when I first got here, I keep saying here, I'm still thinking I'm in Arizona.
It's okay. Pretty much. We're close enough.
That's right, close enough. But one of the things is, of course, I'm looking
Yeah.
for any kind of indications what could be wrong with my son or anything.
Right.
So we had to literally sit there in what I know was interrogation room at the time with the officers, detective. Well, it wasn't a detective at the time, just the officer, and they just say, "Hey, think of anything." So we just kind of go back in our mind and try to figure out any type deal. I think my daughter did come up with some weeks or something before, or some days before. I can't remember how long it was that he came to her apartment and stared off. Like, and you know, I take
Right.
it differently. As
Sure,
far, I'm
you're
like,
probably-
I stare off. You know,
Okay.
and somebody said, David, you know, it kind of knocked me out of it because I may be in. That don't mean something wrong.
Could be
I'm
tired
in
or
deep
just
thought.
yeah,
I'm in deep
yeah,
thought
or
about something,
pondering.
but
Yeah.
that's what only thing she can think of, and that's what was put in the report. So I do have that.
Okay.
One of the biggest things I want to really clear up really quickly is
Mhm.
that I did see in the report, and I guess the weird part is I didn't even know this for months until about 2 or 3 months ago that it was in the report. This year I found out it was in the report all this time, and I didn't know that. They said I said as a father that Daniel was in love with a woman he didn't know, for instance. Things like that would kind of indicate that something was going mentally with my son.
Right.
I have never said that. I never said he was acting strange and for weeks and things
Really?
like that.
Okay.
Because I couldn't think of anything. Because me and my son just had a normal conversation a few days, 2 days prior to him going missing.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We talked, Daniel and I, we talked for 2 hours every time. I'm not just saying
Right.
one time, every time.
Yeah.
And that's only because that's the way he and I talk. We always, like I said, debating about something or
Yeah.
some science thing. And he was always talking about his future, what he wanted to do.
Okay.
All that kind of stuff. So that always plays a part in our conversation. So I want to say real quick too that when we do have that conversation, always every time Daniel call or I call him, we know it's gonna be 2 hours. So whenever you do call, sometimes I can't take his call right then. I'll send him a text message. Hey, I'm gonna call you back because if I'm in the middle of something, I know I got to set aside 2 hours.
Right. You're like, this ain't gonna be
it's
quick.
It's not gonna be a quick long call. So that's how me and Daniel talk. So if he would have said anything strange that night, or
you would have picked up.
I would have known. Yeah,
you would have known.
Now, I can't say some things. Listen back to that conversation. I'm like, why didn't I give him this advice or that advice? Sometimes I look at that, but it wasn't nothing that would say he would want to disappear or something.
So when he was talking about, like you just said, his life and future plans, there was no red flags or any sort of thing. It seemed totally normal, totally on track with what you had come to know what Daniel's future looked like.
Right. If you're going by the last conversation, yes. Well, one thing that probably stood out only in that conversation with my son is the thing about asking me about love. Like, what is love? He never had a real girlfriend. So
Okay.
Of course, I'm sure he probably liked the young lady or something. I'm not sure. But he just asked me questions about it. Hey, what is love? And that kind of thing. Normal. For me, it's normal.
Right,
because Daniel always asks me. He's an inquisitive guy.
Fatherly
he comes
advice.
to me, about what certain things. So that's the only thing he ever said about love. He never did ever say he was in love with a woman. He didn't know he was in love with this young lady and things like that. Nothing, no indication that he was sad or depressed about nothing. In fact, him and his sister was planning to go hiking that weekend. So before he went missing.
Okay.
Right. Yes.
Did he take a trip to San Francisco and not tell you guys, or?
Well, he took a trip to see his sister.
Okay.
And he didn't say it until he got halfway on the trip. Like I said, that's the point I was making when I say that 6 hours. When I look at the time and when he went missing, and it was like 6 hours later. If he wasn't saying nothing in like 3 hours, I would have been so concerned. But when I was looking at 6 hours, and no, it never been that long that Daniel don't say anything. So that one particular time, Daniel did start heading up towards, I guess, to surprise his sister. And when he got halfway there, he said, "Hey, I'm coming." Because she told me, she's like, he said, "I'm almost there," and it's like, "What? I knew you was coming."
So he kind of surprised her,
right? So he did stop by there, and then once he stayed there over the night part, he got up really early and he went to San Francisco.
Okay,
right,
gotcha. Okay.
But we know that we knew he went to San Francisco, and then from there he went to Death Valley for whatever reason.
Okay,
so, like, what is in Death Valley? I think he just wanted to see it, and then come back. Right.
Okay. Your hair is completely unique, and products that address its specific needs. That's where Function of Beauty comes in. Function of Beauty is the world's first fully customizable hair care that creates individually filled shampoos, conditioners, styling, and treatment formulas based on your hair now and where you want it to go. So here's how it works. First, take the quick hair quiz to build your hair profile and select 5 hair goals, like lengthen, volumize, and oil control. Does your hair get frizzy in the winter but oily in the summer? Function formulations are meant to be changed when your needs change. Next, choose your color and fragrance, or go dye or fragrance free. Then get your freshly filled formula delivered straight to your door and prepare for good hair days ahead. When I went and did my personal shampoo and conditioner, it was a lot of fun picking the color and the fragrance, I must say. There's so many choices. I ended up doing this sort of mint bluish green color, and then I had to couple that with a really nice like eucalyptus minty smell, which for some reason in the morning just hits differently. So say goodbye to generic hair care for good today. Go to functionofbeauty.com/milehigher to take your hair goals quiz, and you'll save 25% on your first order. Again, go to functionofbeauty.com/milehigher to let them know you heard about it from our show and to get 25% off your first order. That's functionofbeauty.com/milehigher to take your hair quiz and save 25% on your first order today.
We all know that good health starts with good habits, and Quip makes it easy by delivering all of the oral care essentials that you'll need to care for your mouth. The Quip electric toothbrush is loved by over 7 million mouths, including ours, and it has timed sonic vibrations with 30-second pulses to guide a dentist-recommended 2-minute clean. A lightweight and sleek design for adults and for kids, with no wires or bulky chargers to weigh you down. It also has a multi-use travel cover that doubles as a mirror mount for less clutter. It also has reusable handles in a range of sleek metal hues, including the best-selling all black and all pink, as well as bright plastic colors sure to make a pop to your bathroom counter. On top of your brushing, you can upgrade your Quip with a new smart motor to track and improve your brushing with the free Quip app. You can earn amazing rewards like free refills, products, Target gift cards, and more. Beyond the brush, Quip has everything you need to build a complete routine. Josh and I absolutely love their anti-cavity toothpaste. It comes in mint and one of my favorites, watermelon, and it really does help prevent cavities. If you go to getquip.com/milehigher right now, you'll get your first refill for free. That's your first refill free at getquip.com/milehigher, spelled GETQUIP.com/milehigher. Quip, the good habits company. So it's really helpful to have you here to kind of clarify some of this stuff that's in the police report. Can we talk about when Daniel went to Davisha's house and supposedly sat on the couch silently for 30 minutes? I know you just kind of mentioned that. So you think that wasn't to be taken as seriously as it has been?
Yeah, because I didn't hear my daughter say 30 minutes. So I don't know the 30 minutes part, but I didn't know.
That's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time. And that would be a long time. I didn't hear her actually say, I don't know if she said this to the officer. She never expressed that to me because she's really concerned about some things she didn't say in that report.
Okay.
But as in, I can't right now verify if my daughter, because she didn't say that to me. That was 30 minutes. She just said he stared off and that type deal.
Okay.
So she thought maybe it was a little odd.
Right, because we're just sitting there in that interrogation room trying to think of anything we can think of. That's the only thing she can come up with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And of course they hear
it wasn't like the day before, because the day before she saw Daniel before he went missing, and she didn't have anything to say. Yeah, or he was acting odd or strange. So
they obviously are going to make note of that because it kind of fits the narrative.
Fit that narrative. Right.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Especially with sort of the next thing sort of in the timeline. On June 12th, 2021, Daniel was delivering for Instacart.
Right.
He got an order to drop off some alcohol at a customer's house in Laveen, Arizona, which is a suburb of Phoenix. And the person who answered the door was a young woman named Caitlin. And Caitlin and her friend were drinking that night. And when they went to answer the door, they struck up a conversation with Daniel. And according to the report, it says the girl said that Daniel seemed really nice and they invited him inside and they exchanged numbers. Does that sound accurate?
That's a hard. I smile at that because my smile sometimes be pain, anger and stuff like that, a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
So don't get that confused. The problem with this whole narrative about this young lady is I know the story, and I had to listen to it all the time. I record everything. I just put it out there. When I have phone calls, all my business calls, all recorded, right? And this time, I knew it had to be God because I don't record my family and friends or things like that. But I was able to have the full conversation with my son. And God have a way of making things like that happen. I had to listen to this thing over and over and over because I try to look for any kind of clues. And my son have never, first of all, I'm going to tell you it was wine. I think in some of the reports, they make it sound like some liquor or something.
Yeah, like this.
No, but these women had wine, right? Okay. And my son did mention the two young ladies. And like I can't share a little conversation with that. He expressed, he kind of brushed over, hey, Dad, I met these, he said he was talking about the love thing, kind of curious. And then he went into about the young lady. He kind of brushed over it a little bit, like, oh, yeah, I just met this, this young lady, blah, blah. And he just kind of kept going. So I backed him and said, wait a minute, because I was curious as a father, oh, you talking about some girl? Because I'm just listening to him. Yeah. And then he says, because I asked her how you met him. To make a long story short, and he said, how you met this young lady? He said, oh, it's the weirdest way. It's through Instacart and whatever. And that's when I really kind of understood. I said, hey, you're doing Instacart. What's that all about?
Okay.
Yeah. So, but just in the conversation at the time, I was really trying to put in pieces what he was talking about because he was mentioning it. He's been at night over there, and that's when I stopped as a father, and I'm like, okay, well, let's back that up. You met some two young ladies. Then you bringing them some alcohol, some wine. That he said somebody messed up the wine order, and he kind of fits the order for him. And They had some type of conversation, and then he ended up spending the night over there with them. And, and then, he went through the whole process of how he left his canopy over there, and he had to come back. I don't know if it was a couple of days or something, but come back to get his canopy out of her backyard. And so I kind of cut him off like, wait a minute, son. So you telling me that you're going to spend out some woman house that you don't even know like that? That was my concern.
Sure, you're
as
like,
a father, because I was young too, man.
Yeah.
And one of the smartest things is not to be spending the night at somebody's house. They got a husband, boyfriend, or whatever the case may be. I told him, not being honest, I say, son, you sleep and next thing you wake up, you got a gun to your head or something. You never know. Yeah. And he said, well, I know she's that's her house. Because I asked him, how that's her house. He's like, oh, I know it's her house because I guess the way the house look. And I said, you're too smart to be saying something dumb like that. That don't make sense to me. Yeah. I'm looking back hindsight, but that's some of the conversation we had. That don't make sense to me. Like, you think that because of the way the house is, she likes to take. Then I start asking questions, of course, as a father. Where did she work? Then I asked him her name. He did tell me her name was Caitlin. I was like, yeah, my neighbor's name is Caitlin,
Right, so,
because I do have a neighbor, and she probably get mad at me but saying that, but I do have a neighbor back in South Carolina named Caitlin. So I'm like, I said, well, tell me more about her, And he was pretty much telling me how he met her, and they had a little conversation. And like I said, of course, spending the night or whatever. And
so it was just kind of a friendly hangout?
Just that type thing. And
he just kind of was like, she's cute, let's just kind of talk,
it was never like
he was
in love with her or anything. I didn't hear much about the other lady, just that she was there.
Okay.
I didn't get a name or anything from my son or anything like that, but I do know some other lady was there also in that contest. Yeah.
Okay. So what canopy, is that something, is that
part of the Jeep?
I have his canopy now. I didn't know exactly what type of canopy he had, but I have it. It's something he used for his job too, because he's in the middle of nowhere. That well sit there. It's canopy to keep the sun off of.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
That makes sense. We were kind of confused about what that was.
It's a little portable. Just stands about this tall.
Folds up, throw it in.
Right.
Okay.
And,
Gotcha.
So he just used that for that. But yeah, he went. He told me that he, like I said, spent the night with her and things like that, and that he pretty much left and ended up leaving his canopy. And then I asked him, I didn't ask him the question about the canopy because in my mind I was thinking about it also. He said my canopy was in her backyard, and in my mind like, what he was doing in the backyard with a canopy? In my mind I just couldn't put that together, but I didn't ask him that, right? So I don't know the reason why he had a canopy in the backyard, but yes.
So the report says that she sent him a podcast at 2:30 in the morning. Do you know anything about this podcast?
I heard about the podcast, yeah, because matter of fact, he did tell me about the podcast, that she sent to him. He said, some kind of podcast. I didn't really pay that in mind when he was telling me, but he said some kind of YouTube thing she gave him.
Okay.
And he sent me a link to it and she said he had some kind of ego or something. I said, no, you don't have no ego. He's really, like I saw his personality, he's very sure of himself, confident guy, and it may come off as an ego, what I'm saying? But no, he's very confident in himself. And I was like, the conversation we had was like, why she think you have an ego? You know what I'm saying? So that was one of the conversations we had about her, about the young lady.
So the podcast was by Eckhart Tolle,
right?
Who's a sort of a spiritual teacher, but sort of an alternative view on spirituality. He has his own sort of thoughts and feelings about it, which I was going to ask you, did you raise him Christian? Was that like did he go to church? Was that sort of what was instilled from?
Right. Yeah, he's Christian. Right.
So
that way.
So, because when I look at that, I came from a Christian background as well, and I'm familiar with Eckhart Tolle as well. And what's interesting to me about that is because he's raised with these beliefs, and then he meets this girl, and perhaps that night they had some type of deep conversation or talk, or maybe she was sharing her personal beliefs with him, and maybe that got him thinking, perhaps, or questioning things, maybe his own faith, or sort of where he's at in his life, and what's your kind of thoughts about that? Do you think that's possible? Or?
Yeah, that's possible.
Okay.
I believe that's because and I want to say one thing too. I think the report kind of, some people asked me like they almost met one night and then the next day this happened. No, they knew each other for a little while. For her to know that in her opinion to have an ego, first of all.
Yeah. So he didn't meet her that night. he met her before this night?
No,
No,
I'm saying
after,
they met
yeah.
after. But I'm saying they've been talking
Sorry.
from that night that they first met for a while.
Okay.
Before he
So
went
they had
missing.
a connection. They made a
Right. It
connection.
was something like overnight that he met her and then he went missing. No, it didn't go
Right.
that way. So they know
No.
each other for a little bit first. It's at least over
Okay.
almost 2 weeks
I
span.
see what you're saying.
And but that's I can believe that can be some things because he was mentioning it to me about it. So hey, look,
Yeah.
just send me this podcast, and he sent me
Yeah.
the copy
Right.
of it, and so I listened to it. I didn't see, like you said, it's alternate about ego and things like this. So I said, I wonder telling your own story or something out of what he was saying,
Okay.
and so I didn't see any reference to that being him.
So you had listened to it before he had even gone missing.
Right.
Wow,
Right.
interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I was kind of looking at refreshing myself on some of his stuff and a lot of it's like self-help kind of. It's like
Right,
it's spiritual, but it's also a lot of self-help
Right.
advice and guidance about how to live your truest self and
Right.
the happiest version of you. So it's interesting because I mean, from your perspective and from everything that we know about Daniel, he was living the way that he wanted to live. He was doing everything that he wanted to do. So it'd be, and the reason I'm hitting this so hard is because to me, it seemed like based on the police's narrative and report, the fact that they even put this in there, and was it sort of a night of revelation where, he realized, am I living my truest self? Am I living the way that I want to live? Am I doing the things I want to do? Did meeting her sort of switch that in some way? And
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope it's. When I say I hope so, because I know a lot of people probably do listen to. I'm think Daniel the only one.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
a lot of people probably improved on their life in some form or fashion. The same way I was raised up. I was raised up Christian. Also, it's called Pentecostal holiness, and I'm not doing some of those things. I kind of graduated from
Sure.
what I grew up, believing into what I believe now. So, but I'm not going missing for it,
Right,
type deal.
right.
So, yeah, I think of the betterment of life, any kind of inspiration for some people may work
Yeah.
that way. So I'm not going to down the podcast at all because I don't know
Okay.
his full teaching. I just know that one type deal that I listen to.
Right. Yeah, it's not like there's a lot more off the wall sort of, people out there that sort of do similar things to what he does, and they're more radical sort of views and things like that. And he's really not that type of person.
Right.
So I because for me, I'm like, I see where they're trying to put that in there, and like sort of like, well, maybe, especially when we talk about the monastery and all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of see the connections they're trying to draw there, but they're very, very
Doesn't really
vague.
make
Yeah,
sense.
I can understand it in a sense where you're trying to find out what happened, but at the same time, I'm hoping that in my point of view that some of the things I believe about my own son,
Yeah.
should also fit into
Absolutely.
their report also. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from the 12th of June to June 14th, like you said, it's almost 2 weeks go by, and we probably have a very small snippet of text messages between them. And of course, the text messages that we do have are ones that they're raising questions about and are kind of odd, I guess. So on June 14th at 7:19 p.m., Daniel texted Caitlin that he accidentally left his canopy outside of her house. He asked when he can come by and get it. And that's when he told her that the podcast she sent him was great. And then she said, come pick it up whenever. And then the next day on June 16th, Daniel drove to Caitlin's house, knocked on the door, and left when nobody answered. And Caitlin saw him come up to the house on her security camera. She texted Daniel and told him that she was out in Flagstaff and would be home that night, and she'd leave the canopy at the front of her house before leaving for work the next morning. Then the text started to get weird, and Daniel sent Caitlin a heart emoji and texted her, "I'm sorry." Which, again, I'm just reading what's from the report.
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily weird. I don't know why weird.
Well, I'm gonna give you a little bit of what Daniel said
Please
to
do.
me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
When he told me that about the for instance, he sent a text saying, "Don't come up here uninvited." He did tell me he went to go pick up his canopy. He said he pretty much with the things that he texted her, and this is what he telling me before this whole police report.
Yeah.
Before he even went missing. He did text her and say, "Hey, he needed his canopy." She didn't answer. But he knew where he left it in her backyard, which was easy to grab.
Yeah, I'll
He
just grab it real quick.
Just went on out in the backyard pretty much on his own accord and grabbed it and left. And that's when she texted him, "Hey, don't come up under here
She said,
here
please
uninvited.
stop showing up unannounced. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
he did tell me that. She said, don't come over here uninvited or something or the other.
Okay.
On a text message. But he said, because I asked him like, well, okay, where that came from. He said she had some type of ring type camera or something. She saw him.
Okay.
Right, to grab his canopy. But
And
he
said,
needed
okay.
for his job, and she wouldn't
had to
answer,
get
so
it.
he went to go
It's
get
outside.
it.
It's not,
Right. It's outside in the backyard.
He didn't have any ill intention by doing that.
No, as far as I can tell, no.
Yeah. And he responded and said, okay, I won't ever again.
Right.
And then it said in the report that he also said, I couldn't stop thinking about you.
And and if I think for me as a father, some people say I'm biased, but at the same time, I'm a person, like I told you, we break down everything.
Right.
And I try to think of my son as somebody else for just for the sake of that. And I think like if for a person to say something like that, it had to be more conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't come off and say, "Oh, if he said I love you," which I really don't really believe all of that. But one of the things that I learned since I've been doing this is going with report, and I have my son's phone. And one of the biggest things that struck me when the Buckeye Police Department released that phone to me is it been stripped of the memory card. It been stripped of everything between the conversation between him and the young lady. All her pictures out of his phone. The only thing that's still in the phone was her name and her phone number. All that stuff was stripped out of the phone for whatever reason. Then that department allowed this woman to upload her own hearsay. It's like a hearsay.
Yeah.
Her own side of the story into their report.
Okay.
But if you look at their report and you look at those timelines really closely, you'll start seeing how a text message say on, let's say, June 23rd, I'm using the date, June 23rd at such time, and they have whatever they said. And then even if it's the same day, I'll say June 23rd at such time, then the next thing they said. If you look at it real close, you'll start seeing that things start changing. It start have no timestamp. He said this, she said that, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
If you really look at that report really good, she uploaded that herself. The other part is that my son's account is not there. But I can tell you from the phone record, they talked a lot more than just what's on that text message.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's missing. So that's what I'm
Kind of
saying.
selected.
So I don't know what the real conversation was. She said she loved him, and he said, "Oh, I love you," or I do not know. And so we still don't know, only because a lot of stuff is not there.
And did he tell his sister he loved her?
No, never. And she's me and her is up. We were both upset about that. And I really asked the Buckeye Police Department to retract
Where
that.
that
I never
come
said
from?
anything like that. She never said anything like that.
Because the way that they frame this makes him look like he's kind of being stalkerish.
And that hurt my feelings when the police officer came to me and said that to me. I was really like, and it's funny, if they say I was being biased, I actually had to sit back and like say, I don't believe that, but I couldn't say wholeheartedly my son didn't do this. Right. So I was like kind of considering like, okay, well, let me make sure my son didn't do this, because if he was doing that, I'm a strong advocate about women, being treated a certain way. And I'm like, oh no, even if he's my son, he's not going to treat a woman that way or bother her that way. So that was the first indication for me to make sure that, he wasn't doing that. But then I thought about it again. No, when I started getting more evidence with the phone and things like that, no, I don't believe that.
So some of these text messages that they have written down in the report, they haven't been pulled actually from phone records. They've just been hearsay, essentially.
That's right.
Okay.
Not actual phone record. They literally, from the report, he went to talk to the young lady and literally told her to update, but it gave her, I guess, some kind of way you update your stuff into the file or whatever. She did it herself.
Right? Oh, wow.
So
you haven't gotten the actual cell phone records with?
I have records, but the records we have is only say they text, back and forth, but don't say the content.
What it was.
Right, what it was. So that's what I'm saying. You match those together with the police report. It don't match up.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of missing conversation.
Right. And the police department don't have my son's phone records, no matter what they say on the report. They literally, I wish I had my phone with me, but they literally sat across from me and my daughter, and the phone was in her name, so she was able to go pull it up, his content, and where the phone record, and she held on this side, they sit on one side of the table, and we're strolling down the phone thing, and they saying that's what they call getting phone report. Literally holding it up in front of their face, and they looking at it, and that was it.
Wow.
Wow.
Right. So they never got paper copies from us to this date. Never asked for it.
But it's written in the report as if it's
as
what
they play
happened
word
exactly.
games, and I don't like that. That's You'll see that all through the report.
And that's what made this really confusing and why it's so great to have you here to clarify
It's
all
word
this.
games. I already know that, yes.
So the text messages we have in here are essentially from Caitlin.
She wants self upload. Yes.
Okay, and she uploaded them. They're not
She
just...
uploaded it, right, that's right.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. She uploaded and they let her put it in the report. And
have you ever met Caitlin?
No, I haven't.
No.
No, I
Okay,
haven't.
so you've never been able to
I'm
clarify
sure I
with
don't
her.
either.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to meet her. I mean, when I say it that way, I have my reasons why, especially my investigation part of it. Now I don't want to meet her.
Okay.
I let my investigator do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So your investigator has met with her?
I don't know. As far as I know, I'm not sure.
No,
My former, yes, he did, but my new investigator, I don't know.
Did Daniel talk to Davisha about the podcast, or is that?
I believe so. I know he just talked to me about it, but I'm not sure if he actually talked to her about it. But she said she heard about it, so yeah, obviously, yeah.
So if that's the case, then that sort of affirms that he was thinking hard about that. Like they definitely, she showed him this, and something clicked with him, and he was interested in it, and it may have just been, it's just another way to look at life.
Because he also, in that conversation, that last conversation with me, he brought it up. So I mean, he's like, she think I had this ego,
right?
Something out of other, and my main concern, no, you don't have, like, again, you don't have ego, he's just confident.
Right.
Confident in himself. And I know my son, so yes.
And it doesn't have to go farther than that, though.
Right.
No, I don't think so.
And because it's just.
But he did want to kind of, I guess, I can tell he wanted to make sure that why she said, because I want to know why she was saying you have ego, you know.
Yeah.
No, let's examine that a little bit, you know, that type deal.
Right.
And so I had to reassure to him, it's not an ego, you're just confident in yourself.
So when he was telling you about that, did he talk to you about this girl? Like, did he say it was this girl named Caitlin? And did he ever say they were in a relationship, or was it just a girl he liked in there?
He didn't say he liked her.
He didn't even say she liked her.
The only thing he said was that they spent the night there, and he got up the next day and he was gone. And then he realized he left his canopy and in her backyard. And I was like, okay, why is canopy in the? I was thinking that in my head, but I didn't say it here. I wanted to break that down,
right?
But I didn't get a chance to figure out why the canopy. What you were doing in the backyard?
Yeah,
you know, that type deal.
And this was the conversation you had on Father's Day, June 20th. Is that correct?
It was on Father's. I don't know. It could have been Father's Day. I don't know.
It might have been.
I don't keep up with Father's Day, so it could have been.
Okay.
Right, but it was 2 days prior. Yes.
Okay.
Because Caitlin basically said that Daniel texted her, "I love you," and asked if she was home. This was on June 20th. And then she texted Daniel, "Honestly, you showing up at my house and unannounced made me extremely uncomfortable. I'll be home today, but I don't see us hanging out anytime soon." So
I didn't learn about that stuff until after he went missing.
Yeah.
That she was saying. That's when I was hearing that from the officers, and that really concerned me as a father. You know, like I said, I look at the young lady at the time like she could have been my daughter's, and some guy was saying that, you know, that type deal.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me make sure my son didn't do that. Much as I wanted to think my son wouldn't say something like that, I had to kind of throw myself in that little small area and say, what if he did that? Then I need to, you know, find out why, you know, that type deal.
Right, which again doesn't necessarily mean anything, or that he was being malicious, or I mean, it could have just been a natural attraction connection to this girl, and they had a really interesting conversation. You know, they stayed up all night talking or whatever, and maybe he wanted there to be more there, and they're, you know.
Well, I could say my son, he's been dealing with a lot of young ladies, of course, in college, in his college life, and I don't think this one particular lady is going to be exclusively different. What I'm saying is, he's a young man, and maybe he did like her. I don't know. He didn't express it to me like that.
Right.
Maybe he did like her or something, but what caused him to like her? He's around a lot of females in college, and what's the difference? And to me, you know, what made her? She had to say something. You know, he's not a guy that's gonna say, "Oh, I'm just liking this girl for no reason." They spent the night together.
Yeah.
I don't know what was said that night when they spent the night together. I don't know what was said during the week, because we missing those messages.
Right.
So I don't know why, you know, she can have that select thing to say, oh, I love you out of blue. But what's the response to that, or why did he say that? You know, that type of deal. So those are kind of questions I ask. If it's true, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
What caused that? What was
right? There's got to be another side to it that we're just not seeing.
Right.
Because
I know my son, he's a brilliant mind. young man, and he's level-headed. I can see him
just randomly throwing out.
Yeah, he's just all in love and stalking some woman. Now,
and there's nothing coming back.
He like women in college, and I ain't see him do nothing. Like, nobody ever expressed anything like that. So.
Even in the response that's written down, it says, "Okay, but do you have any doubt? Either way, I'll have to be okay with your answer," which to me sounds very respectful.
And that's where it gets down to when I examine that report where it's missing those timestamps.
Yeah.
And I'll say if you look at it, if that's almost like I'm not accusing them of saying that, but I'm really doing my investigation on that part.
Okay.
Is you can use apps to add text messages to a text
change timestamps and
and if you look at it, the whole format of where the way it came in, where she uploaded it. When it comes to those certain things that they said, he said, it changed. It don't have a timestamp. So if you really look at the report really clearly, you can see that because she uploaded it now.
Yeah.
So it's missing those timestamps, and it's like it was added to that. So
you can't take any of this as like fact, or this is like it 100% what happened or how the conversation
but
went.
we will, because I have the phone analyzed now, and nothing actually get deleted. So when that comes out, I will paste those realities based on his phone record and also what's on his phone, and see what I can get off that phone to match up.
There's got to be more there,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
There's more to that story with her for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so who is Luke?
Luke is one of Daniel's friends from college, also, and he was in New York, I believe now. Yeah.
Okay,
but I think he came back here too. So
okay,
well, Arizona.
Yeah.
So he came out to visit with Daniel the weekend of the 20th.
Right.
And he didn't notice Daniel acting odd at all.
Because he probably wasn't acting odd.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't talk to Luke myself, so I don't know. I just hear certain things. A lot of that stuff, if it's in the report like that, I didn't talk to Luke personally, so I wouldn't know.
Well, it just shows that they're trying to find more evidence of him acting odd, so they go and ask his friend if he was acting odd. And
his friend says no, according to the report.
Right. So then on the 21st, Roger came into work and noticed that Daniel was in the office, and he rarely came in the office because he's out in the field. But not only that, Daniel had cut his hair, and Roger said that he knew that Daniel had actually been trying to grow his hair out. When Roger tried talking to him, his responses were very short and dry. He asked him what was wrong, but Daniel didn't give much of an answer, and Roger knew something was wrong at that point. That's...
I can't argue with Roger from a friend standpoint, because sometimes your children will have a friend and they might talk about some things that I probably wouldn't just know as a parent. But at the same time, when it comes to his hair now, I could say, man, Daniel always changing his hair. So I really don't understand that part, because when I saw him at his sister's wedding, he had them, I don't know what you call it, almost like dreads to me, my opinion.
Sure.
And I'm like, when you grew that, because usually he have his hair cut short. So he goes back and forth all the time. So you look at pictures that I have out there, is long one moment, short no. So I don't see any.
May not be any significance to that.
Right.
Okay. So the two of them also went to breakfast, and Roger had asked Daniel if he was having problems with a girl. According to the report, Daniel said that there was a girl he liked, but that person didn't know he existed.
I don't know. I can't speak for that.
Okay.
I
So it's just what Roger
he
said.
Right. Yeah, I would take that, because I don't know what he said to Roger.
Right,
so,
right, yeah.
So.
Just take it for what it is.
Just take it what it is. Yeah, I mean, he could have said that. I don't know. So.
Roger also said in the report that Daniel was asking him a lot of questions and bringing up different statements, such as, do you believe in miracles? Maybe you should start believing in miracles. And then maybe brought up something about God or religion.
I can believe it, because he's been raised up believing in miracles. One thing is my children know a story that about faith. You know what I'm saying? I teach my children about faith. I believe in faith and, miracles and stuff like that. So, I wouldn't doubt he trying to convince somebody else about miracles.
Would kind of make sense.
Because I'm telling him that.
Right.
He also said he said something about ego, wanting to get rid of his ego. Ego is bad. And that kind of aligns with what he was saying to you.
It could have been, right.
So that seems like something he really could have said. Yeah.
Right.
So then the two of them went back to work. And a short time later, Daniel left the office with a box, and he didn't say bye to Roger. Do you know anything about the box, or?
No, this is the first time I've heard that.
Okay.
Box. No, I'm not sure.
Which, I mean, that could just be something for work or in the office that he had to grab. That's why he went there. I mean,
Well, and I do know when I talk to Matrix, I had several meetings with them when I first got here. They told me that they, like you say, like Roger would say, they rarely ever seen them in the office. Even coming up to that day, they haven't seen them in the office. So that's why I was trying to figure out when they say, coworkers were saying he was acting strange, but he wasn't even in the office. That's what they told me.
Right.
And personally, they told me that in the board meeting. But at the police report, it said something different. They talked to these coworkers, specialists. I think it's Steve Miller or something like that. I have never met him, and I've been up there a lot. But I know of Nathan Miller, for instance. He's one of my son's boss. And I asked him, who is the Steve? Oh, it's one of the guys that work here, and never met him. He's like kind of hidden somewhere.
Yeah.
So I see these names and they say things, but at the same time, they're literally telling me that Dan wasn't even off. They hadn't seen him in a long while.
I was gonna say, how can you?
But then I heard Roger say on the report saying that he came through the office. I'm like, they're telling me two different things, right? So
interesting, huh?
Yeah.
In a world full of many, many choices, especially when it comes to skincare, I don't know how many products they have in the skincare aisle these days, but it's way too many. And it's always difficult to try to figure out what kind of skincare products you need based on the type of skin you have, sort of the issues that you have with your skin. And that's where Curology really came in and saved the day for me. I've always had pretty good skin overall. I've definitely had some acne. I usually get acne from sweat after working out on my face. I get the occasional zits that pop up. But overall, my skin has been pretty good, but I wanted to make it even better. So that's where I got Curology. Curology is a game-changing custom skincare made for you by a dermatology provider. They'll create a custom prescription cream for your specific goals, whether that's tackling acne, clogged pores, skin texture, dark spots, fine lines, or something else. And you start by taking a short online skin quiz, and then they have you upload photos of your face. And if it's a good fit, they'll ship you your formula right to your door. It even has your name on the bottle, which is really cool. What I love about Curology was just how easy it really was. I mean, it's literally take that quiz real quick, upload some photos, and then before you know it, you've got that prescription cream at your front door. And it really doesn't take very long before you start to see results. At least that was my experience. So get started with Curology just like I did with a free 30-day trial at Curology.com/milehigher. Just pay $5 for shipping and handling. That's CUROLOGY.com/milehigher to start your free 30-day trial. You can cancel anytime, and prescriptions are subject to consultation. Again, check out Curology.com/milehigher to start your free 30-day trial today.
Getting enough water during pregnancy can be such a challenge. My doctor literally told me yesterday, when you think you've drank enough, you haven't. Keep going. And so Liquid IV has been a huge help for me to make sure that I stay hydrated. When you push your body too hard or just feel run down, it's extremely important to stay hydrated. Making hydration a priority helps us feel better on the day-to-day basis. 1 stick of Liquid IV Hydration Multiplier and 16 ounces of water hydrates faster and more efficiently than water alone. And it comes in refreshing flavors like watermelon, lemon, lime, strawberry, pina colada, which is my favorite, and more. And 1 stick of Liquid IV contains 5 essential vitamins, B3, B5, B6, B12, and vitamin C, with 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks. Plus, it's made with premium ingredients. It's non-GMO, free from gluten, dairy, and soy. And it's so effective because of the science of cellular transport technology. It's designed to enhance rapid absorption of water and other key ingredients into the bloodstream. And we love Liquid IV because they are on a mission to change the world. They have donated over 20 million servings globally. And you can grab Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco. We love Costco. And you can get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MILEHIGHER at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you use promo code MILEHIGHER at liquidiv.com. Experience better hydration today at liquidiv.com with promo code MILEHIGHER. So maybe we'll go through some of this part of the timeline a little later, just for the sake of time, as far as what Daniel and Roger had said and just some of this other stuff from the report.
Well, and also text messages that went through. Because, I mean, now we know that the text messages are not, this is not pulled from, official
it's not
record
something they actually pull, actually subpoena. They call it a non-criminal case, so they can't get a warrant and pull it from her. Right. So they had to rely on her uploading herself and give them what they didn't take her phone, for instance, and say,
Yeah.
hey, let me get your phone, and took it.
So she could have been like, let me edit these around a little bit and delete this.
Right, exactly. I don't know. I'm not verbally going to say I could accuse her of it, but I have my suspicions, because of everything I know from an investigative standpoint and from my son's record, it don't match up. That's all I can say from facts. Yeah, it don't match up.
So we know based on surveillance footage that Daniel arrived at the Waffle House in Tempe. Is it Tempe? Tempe, okay. And that was at 6:02 p.m. Is that?
It sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds about right.
Okay. And this was around the time that your daughter said she started getting Daniel's emergency texts?
Yes. And that's the truth on that one. Yeah.
Okay.
My daughter told me, she called me about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did these text messages say that he sent to her?
Well, she called me because she was worried about Daniel. I didn't know they have this thing where, because it's only them two in Phoenix, and where he's in Tempe, she's in Phoenix.
Yeah.
At that point. And they had this thing I found out where if something, because they don't know who rely on each other, something was to go wrong, they're supposed to be able to text something and they'll know.
Okay,
it's something they do.
Something's
it's like a safety mechanism.
Safety word.
So he did this thing and say it's emergency, I guess. That's their code word or something, I guess. And he did that. And so she got word and then she called him. He didn't answer. So she freaked out and called me about it. And I said, well, go to his apartment and check his apartment. She did go there and his car was there, but he wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So to make a long story with that, come to find out he went to the Waffle House. He says because while she was there at his apartment, he showed up, and I heard her over the phone. She said, "Where you was at?" Kind of yelling. And he said, "Oh, I just went to the Waffle House." And he called a bus or something out of it, and then he called an Uber back or something out of it. And she was trying to figure it out why he did that. But they ended up getting off the phone later. They told me that he was pulling a Daniel when he said, he said he was pulling Daniel. She asked, "Why you put a mercy?" He said, "I was just pulling a Daniel. Daniel, that means that I was giving a mercy just to see how fast you'll react." And that's it. That's pretty much how that goes.
Okay. And so the waitress at the Waffle House reported, according to the police report, that Daniel seemed out of it, skittish, and off, and that he didn't respond when she tried to make conversation with him. And she'd seen Daniel at the restaurant before, and his behavior that particular day was different. Is that correct?
And that's not correct. And the reason why I say that's not correct because Daniel only been in the Waffle House one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what he told my daughter and myself. He only been there one time, only once. It's not he's a regular customer.
Yeah, I was gonna say
we didn't even know that he was. They had a Waffle House in Arizona. We have them in South Carolina, and was actually like, "You actually have a Waffle House there?" He's like, "Yeah, I went to this." He found one near. So that's what I'm saying. That's the only time he ever been to that Waffle House. So it wasn't like he regular customer for the man to say that. But I do want to throw out in my investigation, I'm not going to really can go deep into it, but I can tell you that I was told there was actually the Buckeye Police Department detective told me they received the videotape. They explained, "Oh, your son was there for a little time, he ate, and then he just left pretty much." Right?
Okay.
But what they did is they never gave me, I asked them for a copy of that videotape. They never give me a video copy of anything. What they did is gave me some pictures, still pictures of the video, and I thought that was very strange.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, and I'm just going to put it out seriously, they have a lot of questions about those still video because of the time. They had to answer for a lot. He was there for a while, but it's they're going to answer for some little smaller areas in there that's not accounted for.
Okay.
I just put it like that, that I'm really looking into. Buckeye had to answer that. So what I see, it indicates that maybe somebody else was there with them. So that's the thing I'm looking into right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Trying to figure out.
Right. Just by the pictures, I think they think I'm not smart enough to look at timestamps and things like that, and on the picture itself. And there's some more details to that video and him being there than what they're putting out in the public.
Not like, because they said he left the Waffle House at 7:10.
Right. And yes.
And
that's what they're saying, and it's he did at one point. I'm about to put some things out, but it's some more to that, and I will be putting that out pretty soon.
I mean, I'm just thinking too, like the fact that he didn't drive himself there,
right?
That's kind of suspicious because you're like, well, you're just going to Waffle House, you're not going to the bar, this is
right.
You're just grabbing some food, unless you don't.
There's a lot more to that. I really have answers to that. I mean, like detail of who and that type deal.
So you
But
know
I'm putting that
who
together.
was also there.
Right, but I do know it's in some indication that somebody else was there with them. Right,
Okay, that would
So
make
he-
sense.
So it was almost a meeting
Right.
going on there.
pretty much. Right.
Okay.
Okay, and then Davisha saw him at his apartment at some point in the night, maybe around between 7 and 8. Does that sound right?
I can't remember. She called me about it, and I
Okay.
was like I said, I was on the phone, and she said, "Dad, I'll call you back," because I hear him in
But
the
she did-
background
okay.
explaining why.
So
where
she
he was
did
at,
see
right.
him that night.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So that brings us to June 23rd. Daniel got up, got ready to go to his job site, that he had never been to this job site before. He also had been meeting with a coworker that day for the first time. And then they were going to be testing groundwater in a remote location in Buckeye, about 45 miles southwest of Phoenix. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. They say he met him out there, right? And I do know that because his phone record. He called and even text to find out how to get to that location. Ken did meet him on the road
Okay.
out there, and he directed him. Daniel's following him into that well site. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So the timeline per the report kind of goes like this. At around 6:26 a.m., Daniel left his home in Tempe and drove to a Shell station in Buckeye. Surveillance footage from the Shell station showed that Daniel was there from 7 a.m. to 7:03 a.m. He bought
Right.
$3.83 worth of gas. So basically a gallon.
That was on his bank statement that we told them. Right. They didn't actually see that. Like I said, going on the phone like this. So that's where
Yeah.
they get that from.
Okay.
You think
And
it was
that
just
was
enough to
It
get
was a
out there?
charge. And he wouldn't put $3 in an SUV.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I asked for. They say they have surveillance, right? And I asked for those surveillance pictures, or like they did, they would not release that to me or show me anything. And so that made me suspicious. They know more, and who really pumped that gas. I really have questions about that. So, and why they would say just $3 some change or whatever
Yeah.
it was of gas. That don't make sense to me with my son. He don't, if his tank was almost that full, he's not going to cap it off at $3.
Yeah.
Or if he was empty, he know.
Why would
SUV
you?
gonna
Yeah.
suck.
Who would
Yeah.
do that?
Right, it wouldn't work out. But well, I'm gonna let y'all keep going down. I have something to say.
I was gonna say,
I know it's coming on too.
Yeah. I'm sure there's more to that. So then Daniel drove to a job site about a mile south of the Shell station and took 2 photos of some work logs. And it's unknown when exactly Daniel left this particular job site.
That's the first one off of Brado.
Okay. So then at 8:10 a.m., Daniel sent a text message to his coworker. Daniel then eventually headed to the second job site. He drove north on Sun Valley Parkway and turned into Cactus Road to get there.
And just to note, that text message has been redacted in the police report, so we're not.
I don't know what the text messages were, but I can tell you from his phone record, they had just, it wasn't just one text. They had Daniel called him. He didn't answer. He called Daniel. Dan must have. But then when they did have a call, they had like a 30-second call, and then there was a text message, and then it's called. It was cut back and forth before he even got to Sun Valley Parkway. Right.
Okay. Then he followed the dirt road 1 mile west, turned into another dirt road, and drove about 2,000 feet north to the job site. And he arrived there at approximately 9 a.m.
That's what it says, right?
Yep. And then after he arrived, he met his coworker there. It would just be the two of them working together that day. Daniel was wearing his orange safety vest and his shoes were untied. The 23rd was a bit of a rainy and cool day, and it looked like more rain was on the way. And so they decided they needed to wait for the storm cell to pass before they could get to work. That day, it rained lightly from around 8 to 11 a.m., and the temperatures were in the low 90s. According to his coworker, at first, everything seemed normal. They talked about the weather and that day's job, but a few minutes later, Daniel started staring off into the desert with a distant look in his eyes. Again, this is from the report, and his coworker just said that Daniel just seemed off, whatever that means.
Well, for me, couple things. And I also heard that they say he was sleepy or something out of other.
Yeah. According to the report, the coworker also suggested that maybe Daniel was on drugs, or that, he was tired. But he did note that his pupils weren't dilated.
He's a medical science, I guess. He's a medical or
I know, right?
And he's
looking for that
real guy, So, but anyway, the thing is, one thing I can say from my perspective, first thing I did when I went to Arizona, from a father to another man, I had to say it that way.
Yeah.
Is look this man in the eye, they're gonna tell me about my son.
Yeah.
He had to tell me the same thing he was telling these cops, that my son just waved off him pretty much and just disappeared and never be seen again. I want to see this guy say this to me in my face. So I met him. I went through Matrix. Like I said, I was really in constant contact with them, and they arranged that for me. Right at the next, I think I got there on the 26th. On 27th, I was talking to that Ken.
Coworker.
And right at that same place where he met my son, at that gate outside on Sun Valley Parkway. I didn't go down to the well. I had never been there, but I can tell you a little bit about that conversation with him. Like I said, he changed his story. That's what you guys hear me talk about, but they didn't put that in the report.
Okay.
But I can tell you, because of that, what he said, when I finally started my own searches, that was the first thing I did is went to their well site and staying out there, and they could tell you the people who was there. I kind of stepped in different spots in that area. They're probably looking at me like I'm crazy, but I wanted to put myself in my son's shoes and say what he was staring off to.
Yeah.
And that area where the well was located at the time had heavy vegetation. And if you're staring off into the desert, like, where is he staring off to? You can't see nothing.
Right.
I mean, I could see the top of the peak of the mountain of the White Tank Mountains. You could see above the brush, but he wasn't staring off. Some certain things was kind of puzzling to me. So, that's one thing I can say that I wasn't understanding what he got from that. And also if the Buckeye Police Department had did just a little bit of work to really try to find out what happened to my son, they would have, like I said, the Google history is erased from his phone. But I was able to speak to Google themselves, and they helped me get some of that data back on the phone.
Wow.
And I was able to track some of my son's movement.
Good for you.
And it suggests that Daniel was actually working that night. He was working very late. So if he said he was tired, damn right he's tired. Excuse my expression. I'm sure I should say that.
Yeah. No,
but
you're good.
He's tired. If he had to go to another job at 6 o'clock in the morning and he just been working all night, I'll be tired too. And I would go to a worker and say, hey, it's raining. He had the power to do that because that's his job. Let's go ahead and close the site down for the day. Let's go back to Arizona, back to Phoenix, or whatever the case may be. I'm tired. I'm going to go home and go to sleep.
Okay.
Simple as that.
So,
right.
Totally explainable.
To me, yeah.
Right.
And from what I found out, right.
So just because this comes up again, but what is your understanding as far as drugs with your son? Did he ever talk to you about anything that he did in that area, or was that something he never did?
Like I told you, he lived a party life in
so
college. So he smoked weed.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I can say that.
Yeah,
and I used to be angry with him. And that's one of the concerns I had in college. He's in fraternity. He's a founder, and him and his friend, they smoke weed and things like that. And I'm like, man, you better get your grades. And I was concerned about that as a parent.
Yeah.
And like I said, he graduated with honors. But one of the biggest problems about it, because I think about the conversations here that I have, my arguments with him, is he moved to Arizona, and oh my God, that is legal here. I was like, no. And so he do smoke marijuana.
Okay.
And it was evident in his apartment. He has little marijuana things.
Yeah.
No heavy drugs.
Okay.
There was no like PCP that suggested, and
they said that
or whatever case may be. It was
which if it's legal, where do you get the PCP laced marijuana from? Because that's the whole point of legalizing is you get safe product from the store, and it's regulated versus some off the street dealer who's lacing it with stuff. So when I saw that too, I was like, that seems pretty unlikely. Seems like kind of threw that in there to, he was either really high or he smoked something that was laced, so.
And even if it was, if he had got something laced, I would think the police department would look into that as a criminal.
Yeah.
They need to go after the person who did that, you know.
That's a great point.
But they didn't have nothing that says anything was laced. It's nothing ever said anything laced.
So essentially we can kind of take the drugs and just put it to the side. I mean,
because even if in the vehicle itself, there's no, people when they smoke their marijuana, they leave them
the roaches in the
There's nothing suggests any kind of lace.
He wouldn't smoke on the job.
No, nothing in his vehicle. No marijuana in his vehicle at all. Period.
So really, based upon all that, likely if you the staring off keeps coming into the report, and it's like it's likely because he's working hard, he's tired.
He's probably tired. Yes, that's the only thing I can think of. When I say the Google search thing that he was working on, all I can say his phone was moving around in a certain area, back and forth to one of the grocery stores. So I'm assuming it was Instacart.
Okay,
so that's what I'm saying. It don't literally say Instacart.
Right.
It'll show his movements from where he was at to going to different locations. So I'm like, oh, he must be making deliveries. You can tell by the movements of his phone.
That makes sense. That makes a lot.
If they did a little bit of homework, they would have found that out too.
Okay, so back to his conversation
with his coworker.
Apparently, Daniel asked his coworker, "Do you want to go rest in Phoenix?" His coworker was confused. He didn't know what Daniel meant by that. Only 15 minutes after Daniel got to the job site, he got into his Jeep, just waved at his coworker and drove off without saying anything.
That's
And
what I heard, right?
Daniel was last seen around 9:15 a.m. leaving the job site. So that's the last anybody saw him was.
And last time they said they heard from him, right?
Right.
And I can tell you off the rip in my investigation, that's a lie too.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's some things I wish I could say.
Yeah.
But that's a lie too.
Wow.
There's a lot more to that story. That timeline is way off.
Wow.
Really?
From
Okay.
and I'm unless you guys know I am doing my own investigation.
Yeah.
I have to as a father.
No.
And if the Buckeye Police Department did half the work I've done so far, they would know the answers I know already.
And, we've seen that with so many different cases where families,
And it's hard to sit here every day and tell the same story over and over again. And
you're like,
and
it's
knowing
wrong,
some things
it's wrong,
I do
it's
know.
wrong. Yeah.
And I can't express that. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And, for good reason. It makes sense.
Yes.
But it's helpful to at least know that
Right.
you do not agree with this record.
I do not. No.
Okay.
Well, and it's also important too. And this is why we like having, family members on, because we only have what we can get our hands on information wise. And likely that's usually from the police, right? And what they release and what media releases. But, by doing this, hopefully this shows everybody that you can't always trust what you read or what you hear, and that there's more to the story.
Yeah, it's a little bit more. I think I ain't gonna say everything totally in the report be wrong, like literally, but a lot of details and things like definitely. It is one sided. They just have their narrative and their theory, and they just digging into it without considering everything else I do know now.
Right.
Right.
Do you feel like when something like this happens, somebody disappears, and your experience with Matrix, who he worked for, does it feel like everybody sort of shuts down and protects themselves, or was everybody forthcoming with information? And what was your experience with that?
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I will tell you one thing about being a family member: you make yourself vulnerable because you have to. Try to believe everything you can.
Yeah. You have to trust something
you have to. And to be honest with you, I've got hurt many times. A lot of people don't know what happens in the background, but when you trust people. However, yes, you pretty much, like me, I know my child. Your family member, so you kind of rely on what people say, but at the same time, you kind of, like I said, you go back to what you do know. So it's hard. It's a hard balance. It's a hard balance of everything.
So going through this, I'm just like, this doesn't even make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like there's got to be more. There's so many places you can poke holes in the timeline. And so his coworker just is like, okay, Daniel just left the job site. I guess I should probably call my boss.
And Tim, one thing you got to ask yourself in the report, if you're so worried about my son, why didn't you just call him?
Right.
He have no phone calls. So he left the well site and you thinking, something happened to him. You did all the stuff. Like I told the timeline, he told me on my face, he told me the same. He almost told it verbatim. I told the police department. But after a while, I had witnesses at this point. Also, my daughter is one of them. And he told me a different story, different timeline.
Wow.
He said, hey, look, your son went missing. Or if I knew his mannerism, I would have known something's wrong or something like that. Oh, man, don't blame me. So I play that game, to be friends. That's something we learned in the military. And so he started sharing a little bit more. Hey, look, I went to go look for your son. Because of the rain, the tracks got erased or whatever.
Right.
And I followed your son's tracks, but I made sure I stayed to the left of those tracks so I didn't disturb the tracks.
Right.
And when I got to the T. Johnson, he stayed to the left of it. It's going out west. And because he said, look, I didn't disturb it because I knew the police going to come and this thing going to get national and it's going to get big.
Yeah.
He was saying all this stuff to me. And he said, I had to go through this gate. And I opened this gate. And then I went out it's like another mile or so. Then I got on foot and walked like a mile. And then I went up on this big hill. And I kind of look over the edge to see if I see your son's vehicle. I didn't see it. And I got back in the vehicle and drove some more. Then I got out the vehicle and I started painting these rocks with red paint so the police can know exactly where to follow the tracks into the there's things like that. So when I told the officers about this, the detectives, oh, that's what he said. And that's it. No follow up on it to question the guy farther about that. But they kept what they said. No interrogations. No, bringing them to the police department.
Yeah. Get a
they
formal
brought me
interview.
and my daughter into the police department and put us in the interrogation room, but they didn't bring anybody else in the interrogation room.
The person who is the last one to see
my son,
which
right.
is crazy.
Yeah.
So weird.
And then he said all those crazy things to me about his account. It changed from what I read, what I got from the police department, not read, but they told me. And then also when he first started off, exactly what they said, and then kind of changed the story to add all that other stuff to it. So
Okay.
That's why they need to bring him down there right away.
Exactly.
The last person to see your son so
Right.
that they can try to get the truth
Right.
as soon as possible. I mean, that's
Right.
such a crucial
But
time.
like I said, if you're concerned about my son that much, I think a phone call would have been very
Right,
great.
right.
To say, hey, look, I called, and his phone just kept ringing and ringing, just like we was calling. It was ringing and ringing, and then it finally go to voicemail.
So when did you first hear that Daniel was missing?
I was at home. It was that night in South Carolina. I was thinking it was roughly, I want to say 9 o'clock at night. I can't remember exact time,
Okay.
but it was late for me. It was a little late. My daughter called. She was really worried about him. She said, "Dad, coworker." This ended up being Roger.
Roger went over to his
Right,
apartment.
because he remembered where she lived, and he came over and said, "Hey, you just looking for Daniel?" He was at Josh at around roughly 9 o'clock that morning, and nobody heard from him. He just come to see. So she told me about it. Of course, I'm not really concerned at the moment. I'll be honest with you. I said, yeah, he probably took off because he didn't really dawn on me. And then I said, just go by. Told her to go by his house to check to see if he's there, and also in the meantime, I'll be trying to call, check, and then also check with his friends. So she was doing that. I was doing my due diligence to try to find out if we can get in contact with him.
Yeah.
Then that's when it dawned on me. I look at, wait a minute, they said 9 o'clock that morning. And I look at the time difference, it's a 3-hour time difference from South Carolina and Arizona. So that's over 6 hours.
Yeah.
That's when it became a problem to me. I'm like, and first of all, I look at it, I know my son, he wouldn't, if he didn't want to be at that job, first of all, he wouldn't have went to 2 well sites. He would have went to one. He wouldn't have went to neither one of them. He just wouldn't have showed up that day if he didn't want to be at work. But that was hindsight now. But I'm saying at the time, the first thing I was thinking, like, okay, it's been over 6 hours and he haven't called me or his mother, his siblings, nobody. And that didn't sound right to me.
No.
Not with his pattern. Danny would never, ever go that long without saying something to somebody. So that's when I got really concerned about that. And I called Tempe, because he's a resident of Tempe, and tried to put a missing person report. They found out what I said. He was missing some white tank mounts. That's when I first heard of that. They said that's in Buckeye. And they alerted me to call the Buckeye Police Department, which then I had to wait some hours to that 12-hour mark before I can actually report. So I had to, of course, pace the floor, try to get more information until that 12 o'clock, that 12-hour mark.
Where you could actually file the report.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which we were talking about this earlier. It's pretty old-fashioned for
It is. It's very much
police
so.
to do that, to make you wait any specific amount of time to file a police report.
Yeah, because I was really talking to them at the moment when they made me wait. I was like, look, my son is not from Arizona.
Yeah.
He's his first time. They said he was at this well site. It's nighttime, going to nighttime there. He's born with one hand. That's when I had to say that, which is true. And he's out there somewhere he never been before. Can you at least go out there and look? They couldn't do that until this 12-hour deal. So, yes.
Which, I mean, that's just crucial time. It
is being lost.
That they're not being, they're not searching for him. So the police finally, once they're able to help, they call his phone, which a little late for that at that point. Like it should have been
immediately
before that you call. I mean, his
name is Officer Cruz. He was really nice, really, really good officer, in my opinion.
That's good.
Yeah, that night. Yeah, he did make phone calls. He told me about the coworkers. That's when that first thing started saying about the coworkers say this and that type deal. He checked with them, and also he did. At the time, I didn't know that he was actually the desert. How the desert thing was. They say he was out there in the desert, but I didn't think like desert, like way out somewhere. So he said, "Oh, I'm gonna go down the Sun Valley Parkway and catch the Sun Valley Parkway." He didn't say catch the road. Go down the Sun Valley Parkway, and I was really relieved because I didn't, I don't know in my mind. I've never been in Arizona.
You don't know what.
So I said, okay, great. He said, I was make sure his vehicle ain't on the side of the road somewhere, and I felt relieved. But then I later found out when I started talking to coworkers, hey, look, this is in the desert that your son was missing. Then I asked an officer, hey, can you go out there and look for him? They said he was in the desert, and he just said he couldn't do it because it's night. So they had to wait till the next morning.
Okay, so yeah, this was a little bit conflicting. We were confused here. We read that the police wouldn't list Daniel as missing or start searching for him until 72 hours after his disappearance. Is that correct?
It could have been because I didn't know about. I'm aware of the 72, but I did know that when I asked them to put him on the national missing thing, whatever, alert, whatever, they wouldn't do it for a while. And I was getting really uptight about that.
For the alert.
Right, because I was getting really uptight about that because I kept looking for it and I didn't see it. And I called them back like, okay, where's my son? You know, that type. So that's probably what it was. Right?
Okay.
And their report contradicts this. That they say that they did put out the report.
Right.
So
and one time they did, they said, oh, we did it. And that's when I was saying I was looking, I didn't see it. And then I talked to, I think his name was Officer Haley, Officer Haley. And that's when I got mad with him. Like, oh, you promised me you was going to do this and you didn't do it. And then he finally did it. So.
Okay.
So let's talk about Daniel's Instagram account. You noticed, correct, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure you were the one who first noticed that some of Daniel's photos weren't.
No, my daughter did.
Oh, your daughter did. Okay, I was going to say.
Her and the other siblings, they noticed that. They called me, Dad, his pictures disappear. You know, that's
seems like something they noticed.
Right.
And then eventually your family decided to delete the Instagram account. Is that correct?
No. We didn't have access to his Instagram. So.
Okay, is it still up right now?
And this is puzzling because I don't know if Instagram it disappeared one time and it came back, but it's still not. Right now, it's the same way it is. No profile picture, just there.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So one of the things that the police attempted to do is try to connect to his Jeep's Uconnect software in his Jeep, because you can connect to that remotely. Just like a lot of vehicles nowadays, you can do everything from your phone or log in online. So they tried to do that, but there was no. They weren't able to actually connect to it because it was either off, out of range, or maybe that the battery is dead. Somebody tampered with the system, something like that. Did they tell you that they were doing that?
Yeah, that was on our request.
Okay.
Because they wouldn't do anything. We wanted cell phone pings. They say, oh, we can't get that because we need a warrant or something. Then we asked for camera footage. Hey, just even show that he was driving up that direction because, we see cameras all over every major intersection. Oh, we can't get in information on that. Then we say, hey, wait a minute, my son has we want the Uconnect. It's like an OnStar.
Yeah.
They came back and said they couldn't get anything from it because they need a warrant, right? And then they say, oh yeah, we went to call Uconnect and we went and got information from it, but came up all zeros or some zero grid or something or the other.
Okay.
And I didn't understand that because I'm not that technical person to know about that. But he said, oh, yeah, some zero grid came up all zeros, don't show any location. But they said, Uconnect said that happens when somebody disconnect the vehicle's battery or something like that. So it make it malfunction or something or the other. So maybe that made me really freak out. Like, why somebody would take his battery loose. So that type deal.
Okay. Then obviously right away, I mean, you're thinking we need to get eyes in the sky. We need to be looking, if just driving around doesn't work, we need to get a better view. That was
after Fed. That's when I found out about all that. That's when I was here in Arizona by that time. But but during the time when he went missing the day after he went missing, I thought they was gonna put that bird in the air. They told me they were, and then I was really excited. They just going because I was still planning to come up here regardless. I mean, up in Arizona regardless.
Yeah.
But they did call me back an hour or so later. Say, oh no, the officer told me no, it's gonna be a no go.
Right.
Because his higher ups told me they unauthorized it because Daniel's a grown man. If he wanted to disappear, if he's grown man, he could disappear if he want to. That's how they put it. Yeah. And I'm like, why they assuming that he just want to disappear? You know what I'm saying? But that's what they believe.
Okay.
So they first denied the request. And then they
First they approved it.
Yeah.
And then they denied it about an hour later.
Yeah. Okay. And then they eventually did use the helicopter, correct?
When they told me they denied it, that's when I threw everything in my car and started heading this way to do it myself, look for myself, get here to Arizona as fast as I can. But by the time I hit the city limits of Arizona, my aunt called me and said, David, because she talked to Buckeye. She lived in Philly. And she called them. And whatever she said, hey, they said they're going to put this Phoenix Air Firebird, that's what they call it, in the air. And I was really excited about it. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So you started to feel concerned that maybe the police weren't doing enough. And that's when you actually decided to drive out there. You drove out by yourself.
Yes.
2,000 miles from Charleston to Phoenix to start the search.
Well, Columbia, South Carolina to Phoenix.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. I don't know why I had Charleston in here. Columbia. Yeah. Okay. So police and your family also checked local hospitals as well. Didn't find anything. And you felt like the police were kind of reluctant to do more intensive searches?
And that's the thing. I question the search of even the Firebird helicopter. And the reason why, because like I said, I'm serious about finding my son when I first got to Phoenix.
Yeah.
And Mr. Ken was the first person I talked to that last saw my son outside of his job. Daniel's job, of course, on the way. I'm on the phone constantly with his job and with the Buckeye Police Department. But Ken, when I talked to him, one thing he said that still bothers me to this day, and it's his statement. I wish I would record. I record so much everything. I wish I could record him. But he did tell me that he was there that whole week. Since my son went missing, he still was there. He had to come there every day and work. So he was there when they supposedly did this search. And so I said, oh, so you was here, when they did this, when Buckeye came out to search for my son with the helicopters and on the ground. He said, well, I was here, but he said I didn't personally hear no helicopter or see no helicopter or see them. So I'm like, wait a minute now.
Yeah.
If you at the well site and they say they came to check for my son around there, you ain't see no officer. And I'm telling you, the desert is eerie quiet. When I say eerie quiet, really quiet, is you can hear your own eardrums seem like to me.
Wow.
And he said he didn't even hear a helicopter.
Yeah, because you would
he didn't
100%
see or hear
hear
it.
that. Yeah.
So I really question their search. So I'm really currently trying to get flight records to see if it actually even happened. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
Or they were just way off
I
of
think
the
they're
search
just,
area.
or telling me as a family to make us feel good. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Right.
Oh, we went up and searched and didn't
Right.
see
Oh,
anything.
they didn't
Yeah.
really. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it concerns me because I know I'm jumping the gun, but it concerns me as a father that I had to start my own searches, and immediately we started finding human remains.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
I
I
mean, there's
can't
certain things
imagine.
out of clothing in the same manner. My son's clothing was found in the pile, somebody else's clothing. Turn all the stuff to Buckeye Police Department, but they have the search they say they have done. They haven't come up with a construction cone. Nothing.
Wow.
So that puzzles me. That really puzzles me.
Yeah, you would think if you start finding
Right.
human
If you really
remains
were
that you
searching,
would,
you would
start
found
taking it
something.
seriously and
Right.
block areas off and methodically go through and
And they
search.
have the equipment. I don't. They have the cadaver dogs.
Right.
They have the search
It's
dogs.
their job.
Yes.
So you started organizing your own search parties. How
Yes.
did you kind of source people to help with the searches?
It was passion for my son.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lost when I got here. Got in Arizona. When I got in Arizona, I was lost. I just had
Yeah.
my daughter. I grabbed her and I leave my hotel room and we just ride. We just literally ride. We must have checked every parking space at the airport. I mean, every parking space at some of these other, because we was trying to come up with theories of our own at the time. Hey, maybe Daniel wanted to go travel abroad, like he said he always wanted to do, in his car somewhere.
Yeah.
So we checked everything we can around Phoenix, Tempe, to whatever. I mean, we was burning up gas, just doing it all day, every day. She took time off from her job. And then it dawned on me, I need to get in this desert. I used to go up the Sun Valley Parkway and stand on the side of the road. I never went in because I took the advice of the Buckeye Police Department. Hey, some dangers out there, these dips and this, and some of you saying your vehicle won't make it, that type deal. I'm a veteran. I've been in the desert, some real desert out there in Afghanistan. And I know the desert's nothing you just play with.
Right.
So I was really trying to listen what they were saying. They know the terrain there. I don't know. And I saw a lot of vegetation that's different from out there in Afghanistan. So I used to have my binoculars and look. So eventually it ate at me. In them couple of days, it was eating at me that this desert was keeping me away from my son. So that's when I got the really drive, you could say, to find anybody and everybody. So that's when I started hitting up social media to calling, to texting, to emailing, whatever I can do until I end up finding someone who knew about that desert.
And social media has been a pretty useful tool for you, right?
Yes, it has.
That's amazing. And so you've brought in all types of people, just from average citizens who just want to help.
That's right. And they just showed up, and it's almost like that saying, you build it, they come, they showed up. Yes.
That's amazing. So obviously these searches are really difficult, especially because of the terrain. What challenges have your search parties faced?
Well, the heat is one thing, because that was dead in the summer. It was very hot. But, it's weird because we started, when I did my first search, it was at 5:45 in the morning, for instance. And we tried to get people out at about 10 because it gets hot, right? Yeah. We was out there to like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. People just dedicated. We were just out there searching in the heat like that. Oh, yeah, it's amazing. But the challenges is the terrain. Standing up in Sun Valley Parkway with that binoculars, everything looked flat.
Yeah.
But like I said, the washes, that's when I started learning about washes. I had to do research about that desert, learn everything I can, the washes, to the rivers that's out there. They call them rivers. I didn't know that water don't actually run a certain amount of year. To the ravines and things like that, the wildlife. Those are a lot of challenges out there.
Yeah. And going back to what you said earlier, you guys have actually found remains for several bodies, possibly up to 5.
Yes, about a little more, but we can't really tell.
Maybe more.
And the reason why the numbers that I have come up with, I know me and my logistics coordinator may have different numbers. The way I come up with numbers, try to get close to what we found is if you find 3 femurs, for instance, that means 2 people.
Right.
So it's not, no, we don't have but 2 femurs, so one of those femurs can be 2 different people. We don't know. But we do know if we find 2 in the same area, for instance, then that means it was 1 person. But if we find 3, then that's, at least a third person, 2 people at one time. So that's how I've been doing my count.
Okay.
We also found a human skull out there, which now has been given back to their family. One family member in Florida was able to get that, right? So
good for you.
Yes. So some of those things have been fruitful for other families. Okay. Right.
So in your research of the desert, did you, and also finding human remains, did you find any information around why there's human remains out there? What, like, was it just people that, succumbed to the elements, or there's things that people say online about it being a dumping ground for cartel, potentially, things like that. What did you find?
Well, first of all, after the vehicle was found, for instance, this is only 2 times that Chief Hall showed up. To my only time he ever showed up at my searches was at the weekend after that vehicle was found. Now, he came out there and he kind of, I call it grandstanding. I'm gonna throw this in too. It was real disrespectful to me and my daughter, who was on the ground that weekend. And I was getting ready to start my search. He just showed up and he immediately got a car and he started grandstanding. Hey, y'all want to know where this vehicle was found? I haven't even known at the time where the vehicle was found. We was close. I was wondering what my logistics, my search coordinator at the time decided that we're going to be in this little area what we call now is the quarry. I didn't realize he talked to Chief Hall, and that's the reason why we decided he wanted to decide to meet in that little area. But Chief Hall showed up, grandstand. Hey, y'all come follow me. I'm going to show you. And here it is, a ton of people walking with me and my daughter. And I'm like, wait a minute, the police department haven't even showed us where the scene was located. Right. But he went out there, make a long story short, first of all, he misdirected us. The second part, he was explaining how the cartels is very heavy out there, to the point where he's saying that they land their planes on Sun Valley Parkway at night to dump their drugs. I'm like, and I'm thinking at the time, like, okay, you're the chief of police and you telling us like y'all don't have no control or what happened.
Right.
Here, the cartels
they're doing it, but you're not doing anything.
Right, exactly. So that type deal. And he was kind of making that narrative like what probably happened to your son is the cartel got him. Basically, that's how it sounded like to me.
Wow.
But hindsight, also a lot of people don't know. I do have another. I keep multiple things going on. I have another investigator who helps me out on the side too. He specializes in things like that. I definitely can't put him out, but he works with those type elements to recover people. Okay. And so he told me he have a map, and that area is for drug trafficking and also for human trafficking. It's right in that same corridor.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So let's talk about when Daniel's Jeep is discovered. Yes. So this is almost a month has passed since searching and the police's aerial search. I think the Civil Air Patrol came in at one point and did a search from the air.
Didn't find anything.
Yeah, and I showed up at a search, and the reason why, because of what Ken said at that well that day that he didn't hear this. I said I didn't believe they did that first search, so I didn't believe they was gonna do the second search. So I got my daughter that morning, and they said they told me, "Hey, Ms. Rob, we're gonna be out there at 5:00 in the morning. No, 6:00 in the morning, and we're gonna start this search out there with Civil Air Patrol." Me and my daughter showed up there at 5. They didn't get there till 8, but you know what? They did do a search. They didn't do it as I think in the report they said they had two airplanes. I videotaped the whole thing. They only had one airplane. They only did one flyby. And Civil Air Patrol was so disrespectful, pissing, urinating on the ground, all kind of stuff in front of my daughter and another young lady I had in the vehicle. And they just sat there for a while. They wouldn't let me. I said, as the detective, can I go in with you guys to help search my son? No, you can't come in. They made sure I didn't come in by blocking the gate, with their vehicle sideways. Yeah, so I couldn't come in. So the rest of them took off. They did a little short search, and then they finished, right?
And that was it. Yeah.
And then the next day they came out, the police department came out. And that was on the 19th. The 9th of July.
Okay.
And so they came out the next day with their little map and what they.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me a copy. One thing I'm asking you guys to really look at, since you doing the true crime things, I need y'all to go on the website right now if you can, or whenever, and look at their website on their timeline, and you'll see that map they put on out there on the 9th when they did the Civil Air Patrol. And one thing you're going to notice is you'll see a ping mark with the location where my son was last seen, which is the well site.
Right.
But you're also on the 9th, you'll see where the vehicle was going to be found. The vehicle wasn't even found yet. So how they know it's going to be in that location before the 19th when it was found. And it's still up there right now as it stands on their website. So they need to answer to that, the Buckeye Police Department. Yes.
So why didn't they say anything about that?
Yes.
That's wild. Because
I already get that to some of the organizations like Dateline. I send it out to a lot of those organizations. Say, hey, y'all look into that. And that's Buckeye supposed to explain that. I have a copy when the date they actually sent it to me. So the date that detective sent it to me was on the 9th. So they cannot say they didn't already know about that. Yes.
So from the 9th till the 19th, 10 days go by, and a rancher finds
and they
Jeep.
saying, right, the rancher came to me and said, yeah, he found the vehicle. And they say, 2 to 3 days it wasn't there because he came there, looking for his thing. So, yeah.
And it was only 4 miles southwest of the job site. Not that far.
Yeah. No, it's 3 miles, probably a little less.
Okay.
But like I said, the only person and I want to mention that that day also when I was saying Chief Hall showed up in my searches, him and the rancher showed up. That's the only time they actually showed up there at that search to this date. Yes.
Wow.
They both showed up the same day together.
Interesting.
Yes.
Is there a relationship there, you think?
I'm not going to say.
Okay.
I do have an investigation, so yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to say.
Okay. That's interesting because to me it seems it's very, very fishy that a rancher. I mean, I just can't believe there's multiple air searches from the air, and I mean when you look at where the Jeep is found,
right,
and just the location of it. I mean, it's a ravine, but I feel like from the air,
you can see that.
You gotta be able.
And I'm telling you, the brush is only about to my chin, in that area. And the second part is. They said they did such an extensive search of that area. They didn't tell me over 24 hours later, they told me that they found the vehicle. First of all, they told me the next day. They said they did such searches so well. They had several cadaver dogs and search dogs out there. They had drone and they had helicopter, right? They got, officer told me, detective told me, man, Mr. Robinson, we're searching so hard and the helicopter's flying so low and the man hanging out and he's looking. This is what they tell him.
No way.
So as the hero thing.
Yeah.
He hanging out there and he say, Mr. Robinson, you can hold your hand up like this and you can touch the bottom of the helicopter is flying so low. That he told me, right? I think now hindsight, I think they belittling me, trying to be funny. But they say they did all of that. The rancher said on one dog, and they came out at 10 o'clock that night. They only used drone. They never had a helicopter. That's his testimony.
Wow.
I have a recorded testimony. The weird part is his testimony matches what they gave me on evidence. No helicopter footage, just drone pictures and everything like what he said. The weird part is that whole narrative is the skull that we found was only a few hundred feet from where the vehicle was found. So if they use cadaver dogs who specializes in finding things like that, why didn't they find it on a few hundred feet away from where the vehicle was found? Because they didn't have no cadaver dog out there. So that's the things that don't make sense to me.
They're constantly telling you they're doing stuff.
They say whatever, and then the next day after the 19th, they threatened me to get my son's vehicle out of the compound unless I was going to pay storage fees, and they turned it over to me. So
wow,
hey, we don't have no more leads to follow. It's done. Go back to South Carolina. That way I take it. Go back to South Carolina and just move on with life. No, not this dad.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
Hell no. I mean, how can you? How can you when you have all of these things that don't make sense? And
correct.
You're a smart guy. They're not fooling anybody. Like they think they're fooling, and they're trying to
ask questions. And I think I tell a lot of family members I do talk to, don't be afraid to ask police questions. If you think something don't sound right to you, just ask questions. Ask yourself the question. If it don't sound right, then challenge them on those things. So
and good thing you have because
you're
just finding out more and more things that don't match up with what they're saying. So back to let's talk about sort of the scene of where the Jeep was and the state that the Jeep was found in. So the Jeep was rolled over on its side and the airbags had been deployed. There was significant damage to the vehicle, including a smashed front windshield and a shattered driver's side window. The removable roof, which Jeeps have little removable roofs you can take off, was partially wedged under the front of the Jeep. So extensive damage to it.
It was horrible. Yeah,
completely totaled pretty much. Police found some of Daniel's belongings inside the Jeep, including a cell phone, wallet, and keys. Which,
his wallet was in his pants pocket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they found his clothing outside of the car.
Yeah, 3 feet away, right in the pile. Right.
Which was his work clothes, right? What he was working in.
Right. From what I understand, yes. His safety vest was out there, like another foot away north of with the pile of clothing. Right.
Okay.
So pair of jeans, 2 brown work boots, faded orange safety vest with the Matrix logo on it.
Right.
Everything. Okay.
Right.
So do you believe that he had removed his clothes before he left the crash site possibly?
And, they told me that Daniel didn't sustain any injury. That's what they said to me initially. He ain't said no injury because they didn't see no blood in the vehicle. Then at the same time, they're saying he had a severe head injury. And he kicked his way out of the sunroof.
With no blood? Severe head injury?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. I keep saying that what bothers me the most when they told me the story. And he explained, but Mr. Robinson, head injuries make people want to shred their clothes. And he said that's the reason why he shredded his clothes. And he probably took all his clothes because he thought it was hot. And he went walking off and he was hurt. And so he went under the tree to cool off and probably succumbed to his injury. Some wild animal probably got him or something. And I was thinking at the time, I'm like, I was in Afghanistan. I'm retired, military retired because of a head injury.
Right. If anybody knows, know.
And I never shred my clothes off. So I'm like, what do you mean by that?
What is that even based on?
Right.
That's
so I can't really understand that. So that's what they're telling me. And then that's when, of course, later the monk story came. But the thing is, my son clothing was on the ground where they told me in the pile. And if he had a head injury and he was hot and he was doing that because he's heading, why he put it in the pile? Why he just take it off and slinging it all over the place?
Yeah.
Why is it in the pile? It don't make sense to be neatly put in the pile. And why this boot, what the rancher said to me at the time is, why is let your son have superhuman strength, how the boot gets stuck up under the front end of the vehicle. And it is. So, I mean, it's weird how the boot is stuck up under the front end of the vehicle.
How would he have done that?
Yeah.
Right, how you get under
and
the
if
vehicle.
He's so, just had this massive head injury and he's in an accident, I mean, why would he do that? And my thing is, how did he go through this car wreck without any external injuries that resulted in blood or anything being taken off? It just doesn't make any sense that the car is completely wrecked.
Right.
Other than, I guess maybe the airbags saved him from serious injury, from being cut.
And that's why I'm getting those airbags. Right now, I'm trying to get all the income. When I say income, I'm getting all the funding I can to get those airbags tested. They have no forensic work done at the scene. So I'm getting those things done myself to determine if my son's DNA is on there, on his clothing, to see if, just
when they
stuff.
Deployed, was he on the other side of them? Right. Versus did the airbags go off without him in the car?
Exactly. Because, he'll have residue from the airbags on his clothing. So that type deal.
Right.
And also the DNA would be there because you always have DNA on airbags. Yes.
I just have a hard time believing that he would have escaped this accident without a single drop of blood in the vehicle, unless it was just mist or something like that.
And they didn't know that. I had secured a meeting with the Buckeye Police Department a few days after they gave me that vehicle. And I also took, I recorded it, and also I took a observer from the NAACP with me. And in that meeting, they told me they didn't do any forensic work, because I was upset why they didn't do any forensic work, because they only gave me one picture at a time, and I didn't see the little markers that would say they did that. And they said because there was no blood found in the vehicle. That's the reason why. How you know my son was even in the vehicle?
Did they luminol test it?
Nothing. That's what the
so how do you know there's no blood in the vehicle?
That my mind, that's what I'm thinking. And the funny part is I only thinking from a television show, CSI.
Yeah.
They have all this technology and ways they can find somebody to clean up blood and whatever the case may be. And they tell me, oh, we didn't see any blood. So how you know my son was driving it? Well, it's his vehicle. He was obviously driving. I'm like, what kind of remark is that?
Yeah.
That don't mean he was driving. So that's when I demanded fingerprinting at least. So you guys see that in the report that they did. I requested that. I demanded it. they ain't gonna put it in the report. Oh, the daddy demanded.
Right. No. Yeah.
They would say, oh, we did blah, blah, blah.
We thought of that. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
There's way too many assumptions being made on their part for what happened to just not even. And that's the most frustrating thing just with a lot of cases in general is just the assumptions made by police based on their experience.
Right. Experience. Right.
It's always their experience, right? We know
every
best
case ain't the same. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
We've done so many of these that it looks just like all the others, but it's not that simple. And how hard is it to have your forensic guy come out and do some basic tests?
Yeah, that would have made me feel a whole lot better.
Rule it out.
Because if it's sitting there for a few days in that hot heat, a lot of stuff can get destroyed.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, they say it was raining. I even had to put a tarp on the vehicle when it was at the thing for 3 days when they was doing the fingerprinting part of it. Put a tarp because it was supposed to be raining, and they did that. So
because they didn't swab for DNA until July 22nd
when I requested it. Right.
Oh, and you requested that.
I requested that. That was saying that you won't see that in the report that I requested it, but I did.
Okay.
So they believe that his Jeep had a front impact, which then caused it to roll into the ravine, right? Like they thought he rolled inside the Jeep into the ravine.
Well, Buckeye, when they initially told me, they said the vehicle rolled, it flipped, and I mean, they're telling me all this crazy stuff. I mean, I didn't know. But that other theory they came up with, the way the vehicle came down that ravine, came from their expert they hired. Now, I asked these people to come out to my searches, and I need resources. I needed drones. I mean, I had to come up with money. I mean, y'all don't. It's very expensive. I didn't realize how expensive it is to try to look for somebody. It's very expensive. Every week, I'm spending at least about between $3,000 to $5,000 a week just searches alone.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really hard. It's really hard. And I just asked them simply to come out and help me. They have the technology. Come out and help me searches, but they decided to get their own accident reconstruction. I had an accident reconstruction. He found all this evidence about that vehicle.
And the black box from the Jeep.
And the funny part about it, the black box data came from them. He read what they gave to him. That's what I'm saying, if you guys can understand. It was no investigation until this thing went national.
Right.
Now it's all of a sudden it's investigation.
Once the pressure's on.
Right. They even deleted their post, which I still got. I keep receipts on everything.
Good.
They said no, we have no more leads to follow. It's over. They gave me everything. My son, it's over. Right. Until, like I said, went national. They didn't like what my investigator read from what they gave them the data. He know how to read a black box data.
Is this Jeff McGrath?
Right.
Okay.
And so he gave them what he read from what they pulled. Then also he went to get the infotainment system information. He had to send to California 900-page report, and it came out to give the date and time, or the timestamp of when the vehicle first been crashed. It was only 4 hours after he went missing, and you know, with the initial cycles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
play.
Right.
Like I said, we sat there, figured out we're gonna get this to Buckeye. When we did it, they just went totally. Not talking to me at all. Me as a family member to this day. And also they went to double down on their theory, hired their own PI
for reconstruction.
And just to say, yeah, your son wrecked it like this and he crawled out this vehicle, that type deal. Now, mind you, I have possession of the vehicle. I have possession of his clothing and everything. This man have never even touched my son's vehicle, never physically seen it.
So he
have a full report and a police report. So how is that? And he went to a dealership now, not Jeep. He went to a dealership and said, with the discrepancy on the mileage, somehow this worker at a Jeep said, oh, yeah, that happens sometimes. Like, really? Come on now. If I was right, which I did, I'm waiting on Jeep to get back. If they saying that Jeep computer don't matches the dash, that's a recall. And you best believe when Jeep get a word of that, they're going to put a statement out, no, that is untrue. They engineers were like, no, it always matches. Because now they got to put a recall in. And that's a liability on their part, because I could turn around and say, hey, you guys is all screwed up with this thing, you know. So Jeep is not going to follow it with that. No, not the manufacturer, people who actually made that vehicle.
So from your understanding, what was Jeff able to determine?
Yes. Well, he found that, first of all, just looking at the initial crash, the damage on the vehicle do not match that terrain. No. 2 impressions on the windshield, like I say, like somebody took something and beat it in on both sides. Okay. The vehicle didn't fully roll because there was no damage on the roof, so it didn't do a full roll. Also, there's red transfer paint on the part that's lying on the ground.
Yes,
indicating that there's nothing red in the desert. So it was crashed somewhere else.
And you don't
then
think that
brought
could have
there.
been from a tow truck or anything like that?
And that's what we tried to see. And the tow truck wasn't red.
Wasn't
nothing.
red.
Yeah,
Okay.
I looked into that too. The tow company that came to put. I look at the history of their truck. They never had a red vehicle.
Did you
Okay.
see the truck that they
Yes,
towed it with?
yes.
Were all of the Jeep's tires off of the ground, or did they drag the?
They dragged it.
Okay.
That's why the tires were flat. They pull that thing out there violently. And that's another thing I want to say too is we had monsoon season after that vehicle was pulled from that area, and those tracks are still there. Rain really hard. I mean, real rain.
Wow.
And that's where it goes back to the story of Ken when he said, "Oh, it's been raining and washed away all the tracks, and I only seen Daniel's tracks, and I was able to follow it." I see tracks to this day. I can go out there right now, and the some of the tracks that we do out there is still there, So I don't believe that by a little bit that the rain washes away these tracks. No, that don't.
Right.
Not that there.
Well, you've seen it physically too.
Right.
So Jeff, does he believe that there's a possibility of foul play?
He always say that he don't rule it out, but he
Okay.
don't say it is also.
He doesn't
He's
give
going
a
both.
theory.
Right.
He doesn't
Right.
like to
He'll go
give
both.
theories,
And police say they do not believe foul play.
They do not believe it at all. Right.
which is why it's not a criminal case
Right.
right now.
Before them to say that, then they would have to make it a criminal case, and they don't want to do that.
And that would force them to have
To do more work,
do
right.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. They have to
exactly,
get out,
right.
get out there and do some more digging.
Right.
Do you believe there was foul play?
I know. Yes, I really do. I really do. Based on everything I know, on my own investigation so far that I'm collecting, yes, I believe so.
Okay. Which
Yeah.
obviously you can't talk fully about this investigation.
right.
You don't want to
Yeah.
compromise it.
Yes.
So let's talk about the possible theories of what could have happened.
Just for the sake of, because this is what literally Buckeye Police Department told you, is that the detective believes your son staged this wreck and walked away from his entire life and family and potentially joined a monastery. You want to
Yeah,
just
become a monk, yeah.
become a monk, which in this area, I did do some Google searches just looking, at monasteries. There is, a few monasteries. There's also a place where there's a lot of nuns. I forget what it's called. And then obviously Sedona's in Arizona. So there's definitely places
Right,
like that exist in Arizona. So is it a possibility? Sure, but did they ever follow up on that?
I did.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
follow up in ludicrous, like I said, they saying that, I guess, saying, the father's bias about, I'm supposed to be, he's my son. But at the same time, I still have to follow leads, right? Because I'm doing an investigation. And I went to the monastery. That's only, if you go down Sun Valley Parkway, go back to I-10, you have to go 2 S's up and go north. And I went to that, I forgot the name of that monastery, I have it written down, but I went there. They was closed due to COVID during that time. So I did check that monastery. That was the closest one. It was impossible for him to walk there for the distance, but if you were driving a vehicle, you can get there very easy.
Why, if that were the case, why would he leave? Why would he wreck his car? Why would he leave all his personal
Right.
belongings?
Right.
Why wouldn't
His
he
new
just
car that
Right,
was a
yeah.
big deal for him to
Right.
buy this car.
Right. Yes.
So it's just wild to think that that's the theory they're rolling with. Or at
they
least-
had us as a family debating on a lot, and we literally say this: unless there's some type of mastermind that we don't know about,
Right.
like some, because you hear in history these people that come out of somewhere that end up later find out there's some type of mastermind. I know he's brilliant, but he wasn't that brilliant where he's gonna put his, for instance, the sock that my Mr. McGrath found only a few hundred feet away from the well site that matches the sock that Buckeye planted at the scene in evidence bags, right? That belongs to Daniel. So he literally put his sock there to throw us off, or he,
Right.
come on now. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a lot of work just to say, man, I could have just not came to work at all and just disappeared.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna come through
Really
all of this
difficult.
streams
Yeah.
just to disappear. No,
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
and his actions leading up to it don't suggest that either,
Right.
really.
And, in the other theory I thought of, I try sometimes to make believe a lot. Let's say they somehow had some clue a little bit, and Daniel was acting odd, and he did say he wanted to disappear or something. Let's say that. But I really believe some foul play. He probably had intentions to do so. Let's say he had intentions to do so, and then something else happened.
Right.
What is that something?
Right.
What is that something that happened? And it just so happened, ironically, something happened. But I believe something actually happened to him. That's what I really do.
It does look like from the evidence that the crash was staged to some extent. There's obviously, I don't see how you get that damage from that terrain and the area.
And just for them to say that vehicle was driving that fast, Buckeye Police Department, I have razors. I rent them things out, and they designed for that terrain. And I punch it up that hill to try to go over that hill, to try to get that speed up. You can't even do it in a razor.
Yeah.
And that's a heavy vehicle.
Right.
And it would never, and all that bouncing and jumping, and you would have never made that speed to get down in that ravine where the airbag crash was deployed. It would have never happened. No. We tried it over and over again. It's not enough space and the terrain. It would never happen. Never get that speed up.
A mystery to me, and probably a mystery to you too, is why did he leave the job site that day? And where was he going? And was it he left because he just wanted to go, maybe just wanted to go be by himself, think, ponder, go somewhere away from Ken, and then he just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time when maybe he stumbled upon something else going on out in the desert. I mean, it's a big desert. There's lots of places.
I would know he even made it out to the desert.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no evidence to say that he was even out there at all. And I can't tell you that. There's nothing really saying that my son was there other than what Ken said at the well site.
Right.
There was nothing there. Even with everything I do know, it's nothing that actually really indicate that he was actually there at that well site. I do have a voicemail from Ken. I know what he said. Of course, I can't put that out.
Right.
But it's a lot of things that would indicate a lot of things right now. So.
Okay.
Do any of the, and you don't have to tell me anything about this, but I'm just curious, like, does Caitlin factor into this somehow?
Well, for me, everybody's a suspect.
Okay.
That's from being a father. I think everybody can be part of something, but I'm not really sure. Sometimes I think that whole Caitlin thing is a distraction.
Just kind of
for me personally, I feel like a distraction to throw off that they didn't do anything for my son from day one. That's just their way of throwing everything off somehow. Hey, don't look at this, look at that, that type deal.
Okay. Yeah, right. And that would make a lot of sense for why they would go with that. Can you give us your sort of like, what's your most plausible theory of what you think happened?
Well,
to what you can say.
Well, right? Because I kind of put what I do know. But, one thing I can say is for a fact, my son do not have a mindset to leave his family. And that's one thing that really upfront, before I know what I know now, I know my son wouldn't just, hey, I just want to leave life and leave my mother crying, leave my grandmother's crying. My dad just look. I know he's a young man, 24 at the time, 25 now. He had to look at social media. Mm-hmm. He's a young man that's going to be attached to his phone. Right. If he say physically, I just want to leave life and just leave phone behind, something's going to hit him in his head eventually to peak a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the kind of heart that I know my son has, he's not going to do this alone, not 9 months. What I'm saying? Even at 9 months, they were still refusing to look into it farther. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. So I can't say that. I really believe foul play has happened.
Okay.
And I have some indications to say that, yes.
Okay. And you have asked for the FBI to get involved, correct? And that was rejected?
And yes. And I was doing a letter. When I write Chief Hall, I was make sure I CC. And that's another thing, the mayor, CC, all of them, I put them into this letter. And I do that for a reason so he wouldn't say he didn't receive it. The other part is these people are aware that I'm out here looking for my son. They haven't been so far this day to say hello to me. But anyway, yeah, I did request that. And my letter was really detailed, outlining that, as we said before, just even 4 days now. They found another person who was executed as a homicide on a few hundred feet from where my son's vehicle was found, where we found the skull. That just happened probably like 4 or 5 days now. But I don't see it in the report yet. And the police, it ain't gonna be my son's police report, but has to see it out on the news yet. But it's coming. I alerted one of the reporters there to look into it. But they did find somebody else out there. My son went missing in the crime scene. Mm-hmm. That whole area is a crime scene, like they say in the dumping ground, pretty much. And they don't want to. That whole place needs to be investigated by the FBI. And so I put in that statement saying that, and also using Chief Hall's statement on CNN. He said my son went missing under suspicious circumstances. It was very suspicious how he put it. And so that prompted him to say, I asked the FBI to come in to do a case review. My attorney immediately, the same day, asked but I'd be a part of that case review because I need to be there as a father in this case review with the FBI. They did it behind my back, of course. and they came back the next week. As soon as she said, "Oh, just give them a week to respond before we we get that week," he called me back, Detective Biffin, and said, "Oh yeah, Mr. Robinson, we had this case review, and pretty much I can't say it verbatim, but he said that they're not going to come into the case because you as a father are doing such a great job. They say you as a father are doing such a great job out there. We don't need to come in." And I'm like, that is crazy. I don't have resources like they do. I'm really saying this for a reason.
Yeah.
It hurts me because I have to sit there and I get people's money. GoFundMe. It helps me. I put my own money there too. But I have to take GoFundMe money just to try to keep the searches going.
Yeah.
Then I have to pick and choose how I'm going to use the money. Am I going to put flyers out here, or I'm going to keep the searches going, or I'm going to buy this drone? It took me months to even buy one drone. That's only $3,000 now. I have it now as a Mavic 3, a really good one. I want to, so I can actually do my own little pictures and things just to have for our searches purpose. And but I need some drones that have better capabilities. That's why I reach out to these organizations that have those things. I'm relying on all of that, but it is a lot. It is a lot. I'm sorry, I just lost track of that, but it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. Just to say, trying to get things I need. I know that's going to help me find my son if he's out there, and I feel helpless that I'm not really doing the searches hard as we're doing out there. I know some things need to be done a certain way for us to actually find him if he's out there.
Well, especially I'm just thinking too, like especially if organized crime is involved. Like this is pointing to a much more complex
it is
organization that's
and it
out
made me
here.
feel uneasy, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm passionate about finding my son.
Yeah.
And that causes me to dig into some areas that I may not should be digging into.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I feel unsafe a lot of times because of that. But what can I do? I'm a dad, you know what I'm saying? I have to find my son, and I'm not leaving out my son, and so I have to do what I have to do. So,
Absolutely.
that is it, right?
So is your team searching every day? Are they out there today?
Well, I don't want to really put it out. I try not to put people.
Right.
People, I really say I don't.
You don't want to
tell
advertise.
volunteers, Don't go out there on your own. That's what I say.
Okay.
People do go out there. I can't say that. Don't go out there. That's why I have organized search on Saturdays. I'm not responsible for people go out there
and on their own.
But I go out there on my own at times, but I can't say when and how because of obvious reasons. Right. Yeah.
So people can get involved in the search still.
Yes.
People who are listening, people who live locally. How can people get involved?
PoliceHelpFindDane.com. All the information there from if you want to sign that petition is one of the first things.
Okay.
I have over 200,000 signatures. Okay. And that's going to come into play when I finish getting this forensics work done. It's going to come into play because I need the backing of the people. It's coming when I try to get some of these laws changed on that 24, the first 24 hours, we already know, and taking families serious. That's going to come into play. That's one of my biggest talking points. Also, because what happened to me and my family. Excuse me, I want to happen to other families again. Also, like I said, the forensics. But if you guys can sign that petition, and also if you want to donate, that's what keeping me on the ground. Yeah. That's what keeping me here. If I'm not here in Arizona, I keep saying here because I think I'm still in Arizona.
Yeah.
If I'm not in Arizona to fight for my son, nobody else would do that fight for my son. I really need help. If I didn't need the help, I wouldn't ask for it. So the donations is very important. But I can say a lot of people, I guess, can look at the numbers on the GoFundMe and say, well, you got 200. I think it's at 200-something thousand now. What you need money for? We constantly use it. When I say we, me and my team, we constantly
a huge search.
We spending money every week from flyers to whatever. So the money is actually being used. I haven't gotten significant funding since November last year. So I'm really struggling. That's the reason why I cut the searches back and stuff like that. I have to really kind of budget and it's getting lower and lower and lower, but I'm trying to do the best I can. But that funding had to constantly come in to keep me doing everything I'm doing. However, that's one way. Also coming out the search. Even with the funding low like that and I can't get to utilize the equipment that I can, the numbers matter because what we're doing now, I broke it down to just mostly line searches. And with the line searches, that's where we find human remains. And think about it, if he's out there, God forbid my son is there, that's when I can actually find him on the ground because we're doing these line searches, like literally walking in lines and searching.
Yeah. You have to grid search it. You have to,
and it's a lot. Doing it by the grids, you have to go over it sometimes twice, sometimes even 3 times. It depends on how we did that search that week. So it takes time. So the numbers really matter. The numbers have moved that search a lot farther. So people can come out and help. That way they can bring, like you say, I can't afford the drones that I really want. If you got them, please bring them out.
Yeah.
Bring out your, if I even some volunteers had cadaver dogs, certified cadaver dogs. You got those, bring them out. I mean, just whatever you can to help the searches. That's what I need. I really need that from people. So that's what keep my searches going. It's the volunteer. I'm not getting it from law enforcement, so I'd have to get everything I get from volunteers. I even had to get charter services. I had to pay for helicopters to fly over and things like that. One guy did steer me up, and Mr. McGrath, he can tell you about that, stood us up, took my money. I had to get my money back. But,
wow.
Oh, yeah, people do things like that. But I was able to get my money back. But the thing was, if you got things like that, we need those too. So that's searches. And also if anybody wants to help, then they can't come to the searches because they live in Colorado, for instance, or live wherever. There's other ways to search, other ways to help. It can be from, I even open up now, I put a PDF on the website where some people say, because I ship flyers out to people, but some people say, Ms. Rob, to help you save some funding, we'll make them ourselves, right? PDF is there, how you do it. And so people can actually get the flyers. Because my goal is to cover everywhere in the United States. Word of mouth is big to me. Right. And if somebody's seen something that day and they just happen to move somewhere else, that flyer may make it to them. Or somebody say something and they say, wait a minute, I was there and I remember something like that. And then that's when I can get that tip to help find my son. So that's the reason why it's important to do that. And then also there's events, of course. They want to help also just like me just personally. I have a cell phone number, 803-200-7994. If you want to leave a tip or you want to, which won't be anonymous with that, but if you want to just tell me, hey, Ms. Rob, I think you're doing a great job. I love you. I love your family. Or just keep the good work up. If you just want to say whatever, that's what that number is for. That's great. But also have a tip line for actual tips. And if people want to leave a tip, so. And
that's 844-602-0660.
That is correct. And then you can stay anonymous. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week. Our live operators
managed
take your
by
call.
You. Yeah.
Right. And they will let you, like I say, stay anonymous. If you don't want to talk to anybody at all, you can just text the word tip to that number and the form will come up and you can still stay anonymous if you like.
Okay. We will also have the website linked below. So if you want to get involved in the search, and all other information is there as well. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of that will be linked below so you can follow along with the case, send words of encouragement, and the GoFundMe, of course, the petition. I think that's it. Is there anything else you want to add as far as ways people can help?
Yes. Well, support the upcoming foundation, Daniel Robinson Foundation. Yeah. So, one of the biggest things that I learned is helping other families. I get a lot of calls, I just put that way, from families who don't even have a voice. So for the voiceless, that's what we're trying to do, try to help those people too. So
help these guidance. I mean, you guys have learned a lot through this process.
Yes.
Well, we're running out of time. I could talk to you forever. Yes. Really. I'm just fascinated in all of this. But thank you so much for coming out to our show.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully we can help, and I know we will help. I know we will, bring more support to you and your family and the mission to find Daniel.
Yes.
And we will be making a donation on behalf of our audience. And I know I can speak for our whole audience and ourselves that we are just astonished by everything that you have done. Really impressed. And, you are an excellent father. Any child would be lucky to have a father like you.
Right, yes.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that any father and any mother would do the same.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. We'll wrap up things there.
Get you on your flight. Got to get back to Arizona.
Yeah, back to it.
Yes.
So
I keep thinking I'm in Arizona.
Yeah, close enough.
Until you go outside and it's cold again.
I've been in Arizona so much. I'm from South Carolina, but I have a 1-bedroom apartment now. So
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. It's cheaper than a hotel house. Oh my God. Yes.
Oh yeah. That racks
then you
up.
can't cook anything. So.
Yeah, that's true.
No.
That's true.
Yeah. That was the way to save money, and I was able to do that. So I'm grateful for that. Yes.
Awesome.
All right. That was great.
Yeah, we'll wrap up there.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. Yes. Again, check out all of David's information in the description below or in the show notes, and we will see you guys next time.